walks, but he stayed committed to the plan and was able to flip the script a little bit. And it led to more swing and miss and more awkward swings and hitters counts, and it also led to more punch-outs.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll get into a lot of NHL news and notes throughout the day today, as it is officially the NHL's free agency starting today. Open. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. That voice you just heard was Ollie Marmol talking about Matthew Liberatore, who, boys, I was very close to the way that game was going to go. I said short start for Libby, but overall effective. I did not realize that it was going to be because of his catcher. So much for everybody telling me how much of a crap catcher Ivan Herrera is. I know the guy can't catch runners at second base. I don't care. He seems to do a pretty damn good job of preparing these starters and getting them through the game, and yesterday was the latest reminder of that. I think his ERA on the season is like 3 as a catcher behind the plate. Now, I know there's other things that go into that, including the pitcher's performance, obviously, but I think he's done a pretty damn good job. And last night, Alex, there were tangible changes in Matthew Liberatore's arsenal compared to what we had seen from him most of the year. And I think you can give a lot of credit to that to the catcher for calling the game for him. Liberatore last night, his most used pitch on the night was his slider. It was only the second time this year that a pitch other than his four-seam fastball was his most used pitch in any individual game. The other time that it happened, it was his curveball, which has been his best pitch this season. Last night, again, it was the slider. He threw a slider about 1 out of every 3 pitches. On the year, it's 1 out of every 5. That is a legitimate change in pitch usage. Now, some may say, yeah, BK, it was because he was getting ahead in the counts. No, he wasn't. He walked like every other batter that he faced last night.
Every time I came back for the inning, I was like, oh, there's a guy on base for Libby.
He threw nearly 100 pitches in 5 innings.
Ooh.
So this was not a matter of him consistently being in a pitcher's count and getting ahead of everybody. No, the leadoff hitter was on every inning other than the first inning against him. This was a matter of him just using his best pitch more often and avoiding his worst pitch, which is his four-seam fastball. So to me, last night, full kudos to Ivan Herrera. I've been calling for this for about a month. Change the catcher with Matthew Liberatore. I don't know if it's going to ultimately change things consistently for him, but it's at least a starting point to eliminate one of the possible variables for Matthew Liberatore. Looked good last night. Hopefully it looks good again next time out.
Yeah, I took nothing away from Libby's start there. Like I'm glad that he made out a little bit cleaner. I know he got the strikeouts, which was great, but the command was just not great. And he put himself into danger in a decent amount of those innings, but he got through it. So I'll give him credit. He found a way to battle through those 5 innings. I give more credit to the decision of putting Ivan Herrera back there. One start for me with Matthew Liberatore doesn't change my mind. If he can do that with maybe a little bit more effectiveness in terms of pitch count, I'm going to start to be like, okay, a little bit of a slump for Libby. He's back on track. But I'm talking we need to see about 2 or 3 more. But the common denominator on that isn't going to be Libby if he's making those starts and having success with Ivan Herrera. I give a ton of credit and kudos to what Herrera did in that situation, because we saw the same catcher with Matthew Liberatore and the same result had happened for a little over a month. And that's the same thing for me, BK, what you said. I've heard from so many people every time we talk about Herrera as a longtime catcher. I don't think he's going to be there. The bat won't play there. It's like, I don't know how good he's going to be defensively. Man, we'll figure out the defense, and I don't think the runners stealing on him have been too much of a problem in terms of games resulting in that being the reason. But if he's able to work with pitchers and have success like this that he did with Matthew Liberatore, that's somebody that I feel a lot more comfortable with. So kudos to Libby, but this start last night, in my opinion, was all because of Ivan Herrera.
I think if anything, it raises intrigue more than anything else, because I'm kind of with you. Look, I kind of cautioned when we had that 3-start spurt from Libby where it was good of, hey, this could just be a guy getting hot at the right time. The reason I say there's some intrigue out of it is, okay, maybe it is a catching issue, right? Maybe it is they need someone like a Herrera, who looked like called a pretty good game last night, both with Liberatore, and I found it interesting the way he kind of handled Ryan Fernandez in that inning, who was like spiking sliders. Yeah, he kept going to it, and eventually it's a pitch that helps him get out of that bases-loaded jam.
And credit to Herrera for blocking most of them.
Yeah.
And those some of them
easy.
were...
It looked like he was
really
playing
tough.
cricket.
There's a couple
you guys
of them
think
behind the batter.
Pages gets in front of those?
No.
I do not.
Not on his one leg.
Paz has had serious issues with those this year, man. I think Herrera's just a more athletic guy behind the plate.
So let me ask this then, because if Pedro Pages isn't Matthew Liberatore's catcher, then what's Pages' role on this team?
I think you should option him.
I think you should too, and I think that's how you open up the opportunity to add in maybe the pitcher side of things, or you bring up Josh Baez in that situation.
You can't bring up a pitcher because you've got the max already. Pitchers on the roster already, but I mean, there's other things you could potentially do with this roster. Like, I think Joel Pozo could have a better role for this team than what Pedro Pages does right now.
Hell, you could even use Victor Scott just as a pinch runner and then defensive replacement in the outfield.
I don't think they're willing to give up on him yet to where they want him to still get reps every day. That's why they wouldn't do that.
What's the downside to it?
What?
Like, if you're not going to use Pages with Matthew Liberatore, what's his role?
I think his role is because
what's his role?
They would tell you, and I couldn't disagree on this, but their answer would be, hey, look, we're probably going to pinch hit for Jimmy Crooks late in games.
Okay.
And when we do that, then we want a backup catcher, and we do not want to lose the DH because we have Ivan Herrera. That's what they would tell you, and I think that's kind of fair.
Fair retort. In all seriousness. Sometimes you have an opinion and you haven't thought it through enough, and the other side presents an alternative view. And
my opinion on that though is don't pinch it for Jimmy Crooks. Keep him out there.
Well, against a lefty, if you've got let's say in that scenario you have Nelson Velasquez on the bench, and he can come in and he can give you real thump, as we saw last night against that left-handed pitcher. I understand why you would
then bring Pozo up in that spot, because Pozo's more of a valuable bench up bat to put in a situation.
Not than Nelson Velasquez.
Yeah. I mean, you're not.
No, I'm saying over Pages.
Right, but in my scenario, you're using Pozo compared to Nelson Velasquez.
No, I'm just having Pozo if the bench gets deep enough. I'm still using Velasquez in the pinch hit, but Pozo's my catcher rather than Pages. But then I still have the bat of Pozo if I ever need it.
They trust Pages more defensively behind the plate, so that's fine. I get that.
But we're having this whole conversation about how we don't trust him because he's not getting those balls.
I think those were tough ones to block either way last night. Like, I get the role for Paz, and I would add this. You know that I'm more than willing to say, why would you always think worst case scenario of, well, then we lose the DH. Okay, well, at that point, I'm basically doing this in the 8th inning, essentially, potentially. But I would add this. There's not a guy on the 40-man that I'm looking at going, I should bring him up to be on my bench. Prieto hasn't earned that. Pozo, in my opinion, hasn't earned that. And Sajayci's still down there working on some stuff. So I think they want him to continue to get reps, along with Victor Scott, along with Nolan Gorman. You're not bringing those guys up to be on the bench. So I just basically, unless there's a name I'm forgetting, ran through your options, and you're not calling up Baez to be on your bench as well. So to me, there's not a... we have to do this. We have to replace Pages. It just makes more sense, in my opinion, to keep Pages up here and be more in that third catcher role. Now, the reason I say there's intrigue behind that start from Libby last night was based on the way I read Gould's piece, and it was early in the morning while I was drinking my first cup of coffee, so maybe I misinterpreted it.
How many did you go with today?
I had 3 cups of coffee this morning.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking one after the show today.
Oh, my God, man.
I'm going to be here a while today making some best ofs. But
4 cups of coffee?
What is wrong with you, man?
Oh, my God, dude.
T-Bone will tell you that there's water in coffee, so that's why he's fine with
I'm
it.
hydrated.
Have you had a cup of coffee or a cup of water today?
I just finished my first cup of water today. The reason I say that...
T-Bone, you were not going to see 40.
Did you eat any breakfast?
No, he had 3 cups of coffee.
I had some scrambled eggs today.
Okay, that's a real breakfast. Good for you, man.
Thanks.
Did you scramble them yourself, or did you go buy them from somewhere?
No, I did it.
Oh, okay.
I did it. Yeah, I bought some. I just went to the grocery store, so I had eggs.
What do you mix in them, or do you just go the eggs?
It was eggs with some pepper on it, and then I put a little bit of hot sauce on them.
No, do you have any milk?
Oh, yeah, a little bit of milk in there.
Oh, you got to do heavy cream and cheddar cheese. That's what you got to do.
I go with cottage cheese.
A
little healthier, and they get fluffy.
Heavy cream makes it fluffy.
So does milk. Makes it a little bit fluffier.
2% or whole?
2%.
Okay.
I saw somebody say the other day that people that use skim milk are psychotic, and you know what?
Yeah.
Don't get into milk debates. It's political in nature nowadays.
Speak to yourself, because people that have irritable bowel syndrome, skim milk helps a little bit. Okay.
Anyways, what I was saying, the reason I find that start somewhat intriguing is because the way I read Gould's piece today is Herrera kind of went into the office and said, hey, I want to change kind of the catching rotation because I want to help my boy out. And the reason I bring that up was this just a one-time thing?
I don't think so.
I would think not, considering it went well. And as you had mentioned, Herrera's catcher's ERA is 3.56, I believe is what it is. But then who's the guy that's drawing the short straw here? Is it McGreevy or is it Palante that's not going to have Herrera with him anymore?
I think they both are.
Oh, see, I think they're going to pull him from somebody. I don't know that they're going 3 out of 5 for Ivan Herrera in the rotation.
Because
I don't know, because they seem to think that that's what keeps him healthy is not by doing that. And you're now getting to a stretch where you're playing like 14 and 15 days or something along those lines.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule to see if you've got a day game after a night game where that would potentially be a problem. Like on the 5th against Chicago, that's a Libby start. That's a 1:30 start. The next day is McGreevy, but it's a night game. So that shouldn't be a problem for him. I will be curious to see how they handle it. Like today.
It's like McGreevy's on the mound today.
Is he going to go back to back? I bet you it will be. Ivan Herrera.
My bet today, who's on the mound for Atlanta?
Lopez,
right? My guess, Crooks is behind the plate. I don't think they will catch him back to back, and I don't know they want him catching 3 out of 5.
I would be disappointed by that.
I would get it.
What do you got to say to that?
I don't know. He's a quote-unquote everyday catcher, and that's what I would view 3 out of 5. And I think the best way to keep him healthy and in the lineup every day, I agree with what the Cardinals have said, which is we'll do 2, and then we'll DH him the other 3.
I wonder if
I would get the disappointment, though.
My guess here, T-Bone, you mentioned this in the office. I think he catches today and is a full off day tomorrow.
That's what I wonder.
Is not in the lineup whatsoever.
You have
not
other guys that can DH.
Not a catcher. And I think that would be his first true off day so far this season.
He's played every game.
So if that's the way they go about it, I guess that's the question is what's more valuable? For him to DH today and to be in the lineup tomorrow as a designated hitter, or to catch today and to catch on Friday?
Well, to be
what
fair,
would you rather see?
To be fair, when you say what's more valuable, I mean, I know your offense scored 5 last night, but your offense has been struggling in the last couple of weeks, and he's a guy that gets on base for you. So I think what's more valuable to the team is making sure his bat is in the lineup on a daily basis.
And I think that's what they're going to have to determine is what's more valuable. Is it more valuable for him to be behind the plate 2 out of the next 3 and out of the lineup the other day? Or is it more valuable to have 2 out of the next 3 days, he's a designated hitter, and then 1 time out of the next 3, he's your catcher? Because I could see maybe he's behind the plate tonight with McGreevy, and then with Palante, you go with Jimmy Crooks behind the plate. That could be another way that they go about it. Now, to be fair, David Peterson is supposed to be the announced starter for that game against Palante. That's a lefty. So maybe what they do is tonight with McGreevy on the mound, that's your Jimmy Crooks game because you got a lefty going up against the right-handed pitcher and Lopez. And then on Friday, you go with Ivan Herrera because you've got a lefty on the mound and you're able to get all of those right-handed bats into the lineup. You've got Herrera behind the plate. You probably, in that scenario, end up with Velazquez as your designated hitter. So that way he's able to get into the lineup. You still have a good defensive lineup that day as well. You can make it work.
We done with the Cardinals? Because we got some Blues news.
Do we?
Yeah.
We'll get to that next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Alex, you said there's breaking news for the St. Louis Blues?
Yeah, look at us already going with free agency opening. So David Pagnotta of the fourth period, who put out earlier that he thinks the Blues are looking for muscle. Well, according to Pagnotta, they've added muscle by signing Ross Johnston, a 32-year-old forward, mainly left winger who played 62 games last year for the Ducks and had 107 penalty minutes.
Oh, God, cool.
Yeah, I wonder how many fighting majors he had. Let's see how many fighting majors.
I do find it really fascinating.
We do need grit.
In no other sport in the world do we look at, hey, he got a lot of penalties and say, that's a good thing. It's the only sport in the world where that's viewed as a positive.
You'll see offensive linemen get holding guys go, yeah, we should sign that guy.
He had the most
unnecessary roughness for a defender.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, bring him in.
He had the most majors in the National Hockey League last season.
I mean, that's why you bring him in.
11 fights. He and Matthew Liberatore had two of the most fights in the National Hockey League. And, I remember, what was it, the year after... Was it the year after they traded away or they didn't re-sign Petro? One of the players had told Berube, look, we need to add a little bit more nastiness to our team. And they went out there and they brought in Kyle Clifford because they felt like they got pushed around too much.
And he really helped.
I mean, look, no, he didn't, by the way.
I said that in sarcasm.
He couldn't even really play.
To be fair, this guy very clearly is up for the challenge. He's more than happy to fight.
And can
Kyle
play.
Clifford seemed like he just wasn't interested in doing that anymore.
Yeah, well, and
I think he signed with the Blues. I was like, nah, man, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't want to do this
money
anymore. Plus, this guy he played 63 games for the Anaheim Ducks last year, and, he played about 10 minutes a night, so it's not like this is a fourth-line player, but I will say the Blues have in years past gotten pushed around a little bit too much. So you bring in Carlo, you add in this guy. McMichael's known to be a little bit of a scrappy player. McTavish is big. So they're obviously looking at this saying we need to bulk up a little bit and have guys that aren't afraid to get pushed around.
I'm fine with this. The fourth line wasn't good last year.
Yeah, you needed to do something with that fourth line. And I think the internal competition to what Steen told us yesterday, now you're bringing in a Johnston and you're looking at Toropchenko, you're looking at Nathan Walker, you're looking at Stenberg, you're looking at Berggren and saying, Pew Suter, if you want to make the roster, you need to go out and out-compete a guy like Ross Johnston who might break your face if you try and take his ice time.
As of today, I think that we know 8 of the top 9. Holloway, Thomas, Snuggie, McMichael, McTavish, Neighbors, and then Booch and Dvorsky. I think those 8 are locked into the lineup. They're going to be on the roster. They're going to play basically every night.
I agree with that.
On the fourth line, I think Torpo is going to be out there most nights. I think Finley is going to be your center most nights.
I agree.
And then it's a competition now between Suter, Berggren, Walker, Stenberg,
and Johnston
now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And honestly, you could put Carbonneau into that because I'm sure he's going to try and compete for that third line.
I don't think he has any chance of making this roster.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
they'll do the good PR spin. He's got a chance, but
I'll put him on that.
He couldn't even get into the AHL's lineup at times in the playoffs last year.
It's the playoffs, man. You don't just get gifted the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that they're going to gift anybody
the opportunity. That's fine, but if you're going to write these names down, I'll put Carbonneau in there because at least they're going to say there's a chance you can earn that roster spot.
I will listen to their actions, not their words. I do not believe that there's any chance that he's on the opening net roster.
I emphatically disagree.
I disagree. I respect that you will have his name on your list. I do not have his name on my list. But, Alex, this is too many names to be on the roster on opening night.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, somebody's going to miss out on this team. My guess, as of today, Stenberg's not on your opening night roster. I said this yesterday. I feel even more strongly about it today now that they have signed Johnston, and I think those are your 14 forwards.
Yeah.
Do you think they're making any other additions to this team on the forward group? Let's start there, and then we'll get to the defense here in a minute.
On the forward group, I won't rule it out. I would probably say no, but I'm not going to rule it out. There were rumors last week that they were interested in that Connor Zary in a trade with Calgary. I know we talked about Maverick Bourque. He's since off the table. I'm just not going to rule it out anymore because I think they look at this as internal competition. And I told you guys this in the office because the other report, shout out to Stephen Beebus, by the way, on X, who sent this over to us. He's like our honorary BK and Ferrario, investigator because he sees most of these that I'll miss. But Darren Dreger apparently said on Free Agent Frenzy today that he believes that Alexander Nikishin is going to end up in the West. And he said, I know St. Louis was a contender for him.
Interesting.
So I told you guys in the office, I really wonder if the Blues look at this now that they know Steve Ott is here for at least 1 full year, maybe 2, where they say, you know what? Why rush this with these younger guys? Yeah, Stenberg played last year. Yeah, Lindstein played a little bit last year. They looked good. Steve Ott's here. There's nothing wrong with keeping them in the minors for the first 40 games of the season and let them play with Steve Ott, be in every situation, power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, top line, top pairing situation, and keep the internal competition at the NHL level. So I'm just not going to rule it out anymore. You just said there's a hole on the third line wing. Yep. You're not putting a fourth liner on that. You're putting somebody that can create offense and score goals for you.
I think as of today, the favorites for that spot would be Suter and Berggren. Maybe you could make an argument for Stenberg.
I put Stenberg there as a favorite for it.
And you could have a scenario where Walker just doesn't make this roster.
Yeah.
Like I think that, as of today, would be the way that this goes. The other scenario is Suter doesn't make this roster, and he's traded at some point in the next couple of days or couple of months prior to the start of the season, and that's how they bring in another player, and you make the roster work that way. So I'm with you, Alex. I don't think they're going to make another move, but it would not shock me if you see a third-line right winger that's added to the mix at some point in the next couple of days or couple of weeks. Yeah. I think you keep your options open. They've got ultimate flexibility right now. There are no cap constraints to speak of. And roster-wise, you can make it work if you really want to. Nathan Walker's not guaranteed a spot on this team. We all like Nathan Walker personally, and I enjoy watching him. It was not a great year for Nathan Walker last year. And he only for this upcoming year has $888,000 guaranteed. That's the same thing for 2027. You could trade him. You could put him through waivers. Like, there are ways that you could make this thing work for $1 million, basically, over the next couple of years. That is not the kind of deal that guarantees you a roster spot. Yeah. So I'll be interested to see the way that they make this thing work.
I just think when we had the chance to talk with Steen yesterday, and he had a quote in his press conference that stuck out to me where he said, or I guess it was Doug that said it about Steen. He said, Alex needs to get players who aren't looking for an exit, but willing to grab the rope. Steen talked about how the focus when he was a player was everybody doing everything they could in the offseason to set their teammates up for success. This training camp is going to be shorter this year. There's only going to be 3 or 4 preseason games. I truly believe there is value from Steen's perspective of, look, I want as much competition as possible for roster spots, and the young guys, they're going to have to fight for their chance to make this roster. I think that benefits those players, especially that Steve Ott is in the minor leagues, and I think it benefits the Blues team to have the veteran players or guys that know what it takes to win at the NHL level, and then you have the younger players that are fighting for their roster spots. It's what Doug did when he first came to the Blues, when he brought in Jason Arnott and Jamie Langenbrunner, where he said, no, we're not going to put these guys in position. We want them to slowly wade into the water, but we also want them to compete for these roster spots with these veterans. So I feel like there's nothing else really to do for the Blues. It seems like they're set, but I'm not going to rule it out because I do think the Blues are probably going to be in on other teams' conversations.
We talked a lot about the forwards there. On the defenseman side of things, you mentioned the news, or the speculation, I guess was maybe a better way to frame it, on Nikishin and the Blues still being connected to him. I don't know if that's an updated report or if that's something where, hey, they were in on Nikishin, and because they added Brandon Carlo, that's the defenseman edition. I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
It's possible that they're still interested in Nikishin and they want to upgrade that spot that Theo Lindstein currently maintains in the roster. Maybe this is a scenario where they would include Lindstein in a deal for Nikishin, and that's the way that they could make it work for the Carolina Hurricanes. Or maybe the Hurricanes are very interested in a Cam Fowler, for example, and they think, hey, that's the kind of player that could fit into what we're building here in Carolina. I don't know. Do you find him to be an intriguing addition for the Blues? And if so, what do you think the price would potentially look like there?
Yeah, I do. And for what it's worth, I mean, Dreger said this today on his show, but he did say, I know St. Louis was a contender.
Exactly.
So that's the Carlo conversation you're mentioning. I really do like Nikishin. Now, at what price? Because he's an RFA and he's not offer sheet eligible because he hasn't had enough playing time in the NHL. So, like, you can't offer sheet him. You have to trade for him. And then what's the contract? I think I saw somebody say that he's wanting somewhere between $7 and $8 million. Do you want to give that to a guy that's only played one season? I'm not sure, but he's an RFA for the next 4 years, and he's 24, 23 years old.
24, yeah.
I like this kid in terms of he had 11 goals last year with Carolina. You know he's a mobile defenseman because he played in Carolina's system, which you don't play in that system unless you are a mobile defenseman. Plus, he does have some nastiness to his game, and he's big, and he plays the left side. So I really like the idea of it. At what cost is the contract? That's the real question. I don't know if you have to pay a lot to Carolina because Carolina can probably chug through defensemen, but maybe you flip Lindstein to them and you say, we're just going to upgrade with another defenseman. Maybe Cam Fowler's intriguing to them and you replace an older player with a younger player. Carolina is probably wanting cap flexibility, but also they don't want to pay this guy what he wants. So I'm not really sure what the cost of acquiring him would be or if the Blues are even interested. I just think he makes sense in what the Blues have been trying to do, getting guys with advanced experience that could jump right in and play for the Blues rather than youth and learning on the fly.
He makes me so nervous. I like the idea of it. $8 million, if that's potentially what the asking price is going to be, especially if it's a longer term deal. I would be so nervous by that. And this is a guy that does not have good defensive metrics so far. It's been 1 year. He was in a great system for defensemen. We've seen this before where Carolina defensemen go elsewhere and they do not look like the same players. Hell, you don't have to look that far. Justin Falk right here in St. Louis. Right, he was awesome with the Carolina Hurricanes. They decided to move on. Blues give him the contract, and it did not look the same here. He was fine, but he was not the same player here that he was in Carolina. That system does a lot to prop guys up. I would be nervous about giving a third pair defenseman that kind of money potentially.
Yeah. To be fair, Falk wasn't good in their system. I mean, minus 26, minus 18, minus 22, minus 19. He was all good offensively, but you're not wrong. I mean, like, there have been guys that played for that team that have gone on to not have the same success. I do worry about that, but I look at the numbers that Nikishin put up when he was in the KHL, and he was the same player there too. And they obviously didn't hate him because they kept him in the lineup during the playoffs and played him a substantial amount. So for 8 years or for $8 million for however many years you're going to sign him to, that's what makes me nervous, to where if this is 1 year in the NHL and now you're all of a sudden going to 8, I think you need a little bit more reps before I go into that. But I don't even know if they're interested in this. Maybe this was Carlo or Nikishin and they chose Carlo. It's just weird because Nikishin plays the other side than Carlo. And they were obviously looking to upgrade the right side, but are they still looking to upgrade the left side because of what I've mentioned? Maybe they view this as, you know what, Lindstein is probably best suited to play another year in the AHL with Steve Ott, and let's get a guy that can be here now, and then we'll approach this as it goes.
Just on Falk real quick, he was an all-star those 3 years that you were talking about, and those Carolina Hurricanes teams were not the Carolina Hurricanes teams that we now know.
No, it was Brind'Amour, though, and I mean, he put up a lot of offense. So
it was Bill Peters.
Wasn't Brind'Amour there towards the last part of Falk when he was there?
No.
I thought he was there in 18-19. Brind'Amour was.
Brind'Amour got there in 18-19.
So the last year of Falk. He was good there that season.
Yeah. Those years that you saw the bad plus minus, that was pre-Brind'Amour. Mm-hmm. So that was pre the era that we're talking about with this system that's there. Once Brind'Amour got there, immediately +9. So he went from -22, -18, -26, +9. I wonder what changed. The system changed. Mm-hmm. Carolina became the team that we now know them to be, and now that's what Nikishin was in last year. So it makes me nervous. I'm not saying you can't do it and he can't come in here and be an incredibly successful defenseman. Noah Hannafin was in that system. Went on elsewhere and had some success, right? Yeah. So there have been guys that leave and continue to be the good players. Or maybe Nikishin will become a better player with a bigger role, and he becomes more offensively inclined. I don't know. But the contract's what makes me nervous here. And if you're going to have to tie yourself into that without really knowing what you're getting, I would probably just say, I think I'm good. Jonathan Berggren, by the way, officially has signed a 1-year contract extension. We knew this yesterday, but it sounds like it is officially official, according to the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what else happens the rest of the day. Mason Marchment going to the Sharks, too, so I'll be fascinated to see how much.
That's a good move.
That's his dad played there, and, of course, his dad was a scout for him. I think he passed away a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Friedman speculated that, but, man, San Jose is going to be a really freaking good team this year if they can figure out their goaltending.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, let's talk a little bit more about the Central Division. What is going on with the Dallas Stars? We'll get into that next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals beat the Braves last night 5-3. Game 2 of their 3-game set in Atlanta is tonight. 6:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy on the mound for St. Louis. Ronaldo Lopez will get the start for the Atlanta Braves. And today is the start of NHL free agency. And according to David Pagnotta, the St. Louis Blues have signed Ross Johnston. We'll keep you updated on any Blues news that comes out throughout the day today here on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
From the 573, Druin officially bought out, yeah? Sure is.
We told
that
you
was
that
announced
yesterday.
just a little bit ago. The St. Louis Blues sending out an email confirming they have officially bought out Jonathan Druin's contract.
Cue the song.
And his name, Alexander Steen, is on it.
Yep. One of the first moves by Alexander Steen is a move that Doug Armstrong never made. That is not a good or a bad thing. It is just a statement of fact that this is something that Army either did not want to do, did not have to do, whatever you want to say, but he did not do it at any point in his career. And in the first couple of days, first 24 hours since being named general manager, it has been done by Alexander Steen. Saves him about $2.5 million this year. If you care about it, the owner is on the hook for $1.5 million this year and $1.5 million next year in terms of the cash that's being laid out. But it saves them a couple $1 million against the cap. Not that that's a huge deal for them. The bigger thing, I think, based upon what they've done today, they needed the roster spot. I think that's pretty clear as to why they would make a move like that. You buy him out, you're able to bring in Johnston.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, like you said, it's not a good or a bad thing, but at least it tells me he's not going to operate just as Doug Armstrong. Like, I think a lot of people believe Doug Armstrong is just going to be operating the marionette that is Alexander Steen. I don't know if I believe that. I think Steen is going to operate as he chooses, and if there's something that he questions, he will go and talk to Doug about it. But Doug's told the story before, and I sound like a broken record, when he was GM in Dallas and he walked up to Bob Gainey and asked, it was Bob Gainey, and asked him what he should do on a trade, and Bob Gainey says, you make the decision, I'm going to lunch. Like, I don't think Doug is telling Steen what to do. I think Steen is making decisions as he chooses fit for this team, and he will use Doug's advice as he feels suiting. So this, to me, tells me that you're not getting a carbon copy of Doug Armstrong. If Steen values a roster spot, or if Steen values a guy that shouldn't be on the roster, I think he looks at it that way.
So earlier today, it was reported by Elliot Friedman, Maverick Bourque is heading to Nashville. Maverick Bourque, for those unfamiliar, center from the Dallas Stars, restricted free agent this offseason. The Predators, in return, sent a second and a third round pick. The Predators also got a defenseman. Alex, I'm going to need your help on this one. Ilya
Lyubushkin.
He is going back to the Nashville Predators.
T-Bone, spell Lyubushkin.
This saves some money for the Dallas Stars, which is the number one priority for them right now. Yeah. I've been saying this for months. Guys, Dallas, we can do the math. Like, you're not hiding anything. I can look at your cap sheet and see. You can tell me all you want to that you don't have a problem with Robertson and that, hey, there's no real fear here of losing him, of losing Maverick Bourque. There was always a fear of it because there was not money available for both. You could not make it work without sending out significant money elsewhere, and most of their big money players have some kind of no trade or no move protection. The only ones that don't are Wyatt Johnston, who they're not moving, or Thomas Harley, who they reportedly tried to move yesterday to get Werenski, and Werenski said thanks, but no thanks. So they tried to move Jason Robertson to Seattle. Seattle said no. And now they make the move for Maverick Bourque to send him to Nashville. And my guess, Alex, is this will allow them the opportunity to get something done with Jason Robertson. I don't know what it will look like. They still have to make another move probably.
There's another one they got to
get under the cap. But I think Robertson probably stays in Dallas now. Yeah. Even if it's just for a one-year deal, I think he's going to be back there. But this does hurt their depth. They now have sent out their third-line center, who was, even if you don't think the ceiling's there, a good player for the Dallas Stars last year. We've seen this with Colorado, where they do not have the same depth that they once did because of the cap constraints that they have been placed upon. Is Dallas going to suffer the same fate now, in your opinion? Now that they do have some really highly paid players, a couple of players probably making 12 plus, Tyler Seguin making 10 for this year. are they going to fall into the same trap that Colorado did, where they become a team that's overly top heavy?
I think there's a chance. Like they're on my watch list right now. I think Colorado is more sustainable to this than Dallas, just because I think Dallas is a little bit more deeper in terms of having a Wyatt Johnston, having a Rope Hintz. Rantanen's not old, nor will Jason Robertson be if they lock him up. And I mean, in Colorado's life cycle, they have McKenna and McCarr, and that's about it. But I just I look at what has transpired with them. You know, they moved on from Logan Stankoven, who has since become a really good second-line player, to get Rantanen. Smart deal, but now you don't have that depth at the center position. And if you lock up Jason Robertson, you still have to move somebody off of your roster, because you have 12 forwards and 0 cap space if Robertson signs for $12.5 million. So you're still moving somebody off of this roster, which takes a shot at your depth. So to me, I'm just looking at Dallas saying they're going to be living off of Harley and Heiskanen and Lindell. Lindell's a really good piece for them. And they're going to be living off of Rantanen, Johnston, Hintz, and Robertson. And that sounds like it's a really good piece. But what happens if one of those 4 guys goes down offensively for you? What happens if one of those 2 guys go down defensively for you? Jake Ottinger is not Connor Hellebuck, and he's not been great for Dallas in the last couple of years. I just look at Colorado and Dallas, and I see a very top-heavy team that is going to live off of their stars, and that's how they're going to win. And it's hard to do that in an 84-game schedule on top of a playoff run, whereas now you've got Minnesota, who has more depth. Now you've got Utah, who is starting to build with their youth. I think those teams can start to possibly unseat some of these teams in the Central Division.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't know that I'm all that worried about where Dallas is going, because I look at what Colorado did this year. They were freaking awesome. I mean, they were the best team in the NHL.
And what happened in the playoffs when one of them got hurt?
Sure, but I mean, that would happen no matter what team it was, right? Like, if McDavid gets hurt, yeah, you know what the Oilers are? They're bleeped. You know what happens when the Blues lose a Dylan Holloway? Guess what? They were bleeped in the playoffs, and they're more of the quote-unquote pack mentality. So I'm not all that worried about it. I think if you've got superstars, they can make up for a lackluster bottom 6. So I think Dallas is in a good spot. And I agree with what you said, though. I do think they're in a better spot than Colorado, because I think they've got a little bit better pieces more towards the top there. I have no concerns about the Dallas Stars. I think they're here to stay in this Central Division.
I think they're fine. I do think that for this year, they might have a lack of depth compared to what you'd want. Tyler Seguin also has $10 million coming off of the books next year. Mm-hmm. So long term, I think they're actually in a really good spot. And this, I think this just comes down to a difference of opinion on Jake Ottinger, Alex. It basically comes down to how do you feel about him? Because if you don't think that he's a great goalie at this point in his career, they're paying him $8 million. He better be good. And if you don't feel that way, that's a massive overpay, and it means that they have a limited flexibility there, because he has a full no move clause for 5 more years. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be just fine. I think that we'll look back on this and say, blip on the radar, he's going to be a really good goalie once again in the NHL. But for right now, he's not coming off of a great year. There's no doubt about it. All right, some news around the NHL. Few things to pass along, Alex. We can do some quick hitters here.
Sure.
Frank Saravalli reporting that according to his sources, the Maple Leafs want to be in and take a big swing on Zach Werenski. He thinks the preferred destination for Werenski, though, is the Tampa Bay Lightning. So he believes that Werenski trying to force his way to Tampa.
That makes sense. I'd be surprised if Toronto, now I've heard that Toronto, he's not opposed to going to Toronto, but it would just surprise the hell out of me if a Team USA guy is wanting to go play in Canada.
Apparently he's tight with Austin Matthews.
That would make a lot of sense, but I wonder if Austin's told him, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. And
I'm guessing if he's traded to Toronto, he doesn't resign. And he just stays there for the next couple of years, and then I think his timeline would line up with Austin Matthews.
Tampa makes a lot more sense. I mean, Tampa, you get to be the number 1 defenseman for them. You get to play with Kucherov and Hedman, and you got a chance to win right away. So, you go to Toronto, you're not winning right away.
And winters don't suck.
Yeah, and the thing is, if I'm Columbus, you're not going to Tampa because they don't have a good package. So suck it up and play in Columbus another year.
Corey Perry back with the LA Kings for his age 41 season, according to Frank Saravalli.
I hope he chases down Jaromir Jagr.
I gotta tell you, if this free agency so far has been a reminder of, oh, you're still in the league?
Yeah.
Dude,
that's what it's been for me today.
I would have so signed Corey Perry for $1 million and put him on my fourth line.
Yes,
I love Corey Perry. At 41 years old, the dude still will give you 15 goals.
Jaden Schwartz, 3 years, $3.25 million per year with the Colorado Avalanche. Nice signing, nice spot for him.
Good for Schwartz, man. I think he's probably, after what he did in Seattle, which stayed committed to them, that was not a place you were going anywhere with, and now you get a chance to actually go maybe win another cup. So I'm glad for Schwartz. That was one that, if they were looking for depth, I would have looked into it with Schwartz, but not for $3.5 million.
Real money for Ian Cole. 1 year, $5 million with the Chicago Blackhawks.
Dude, that's another guy that, like, Ian Cole.
You forget still around?
Not that you forget still around, but like talk about making an incredible career for a guy who has just been a third pair defenseman. Yeah. He wins 2 cups in Pittsburgh, gets the bank in Columbus as a free agent, gets paid in Colorado and chases down a couple of cups, and then has just gotten paid every single offseason as a free agent. So good for that guy.
He's going to get to 1,000 career NHL games this season. Only needs 10 more games to get to that mile marker.
That's a good move by Chicago too, man. That's a good depth defenseman that plays a gritty style.
Yeah, and they don't have any cap constraints, so 1 year deal, $5 million. Nice move. Yep. Quinn Hughes, according to Elliot Friedman, his projection/prediction, 3 years, $18 million per year is what he's predicting. This market is about to be completely reset. For any fans that are listening right now that are seeing some of the salaries that are going to be handed out in free agency, just wait. Just wait until you see what some of these guys are going to get that are coming up on extensions. So, for example, Connor Bedard, Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar.
Cale Makar is going to get $20 million if
Leo
Quinn
Carlson.
Hughes is 18.
Like, these guys that are potentially coming up on deals, they are going to not just get paid in the way that we previously saw around the NHL. They are going to get $15 to $20 million per year on an annual basis.
Did you even mention Connor McDavid?
We're a year away from that.
That dude's going to make $20 million.
Per year.
Yeah, no, he should be making 10% of what the salary cap is moving forward.
Well, that would be, he's going to be making like 20%.
Well, yeah, whatever the max is that you can go to, he should be making that as an NHL player, which I believe is $20 million.
What for the Oilers, it sucks for them because these markets are going to get reset. And what I was going to say is you want to be the one to be the first one to sign your guy, right? Because then he's not going to be saying, like for Quinn Hughes, for example, Hughes and Makar are basically doing a song and dance of you sign first so I can beat your number, and you want to be the team that gets that deal done first.
And the max salary for an NHL player next season, $20.8 million. Kirill Kaprizov right now is the highest paid at 17. I'm going to guess we will see somebody sign for 20.8 at some point.
Minnesota is going to have 2 of the highest paid players in the National Hockey League on their roster.
$35 million combined potentially for those 2 guys.
And you know what? It's going to be a great deal within like 3 years.
Yep.
Well,
because the cap's exploding.
But in the third year, he's going to leave.
Yeah, if Quinn Hughes is only getting a 3-year deal, the value of that is different. I think we're going to start seeing guys across the NHL do shorter deals. That's what happened in the NBA. The NHL appears to be just a few years behind what's happening in the NBA right now, where NBA guys have ultimate flexibility, ultimate leverage over their teams because they're signing short-term deals for maximum dollar figures, and then it feels like every other year they're in that pre-agency era where they can decide, am I staying or am I going? Yeah. And they can force their way to their next team and then sign another 2 to 3 year contract.
And it really can be the downfall of just organizations and turns them from a team that was competing into a rebuild. Like I know you guys are on the different side of the fence with me with Dallas, and I totally get it. But if you pay Jason Robertson, like, what's that look like for other guys that are on the team? Colorado is just going to be, if they have to sign Cale Makar to $18 or $19 million, I mean, that team is going to be basically McKenna and Makar, and good luck trying to win. You see that start to flip, and it gets very difficult very quick.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. Questions and answers coming up next. Some news here for the Blues. We'll get into questions and answers in about 15 minutes because I think we need to discuss this, Alex. Ross Johnston, we announced the signing a little bit ago. The Blues have now announced it's a 3-year contract worth a total of $6 million. That's a $2 million AAV.
That
3
is not
years,
a two-way deal.
$6 million in total. This is a guy that's not only going to come in, Alex, and compete for a spot. This is a guy that's going to play regularly.
Yeah.
If you're giving him that kind of money for that kind of term.
Yeah, I mean, like if I'm Nathan Walker now, I'm like, am I going to be in the AHL or am I even on this roster? Because you don't sign Ross Johnston to that contract and say, well, you might play, you might not play. Like that's a fourth line player. That's a left winger who's going to probably playing on a nightly basis with Jack Finley and my guest Toropchenko.
That's a big-ass fourth line, by the way.
Well, I think that's probably why they're doing this. Is like, look, we did not like our fourth line. Ross Johnston is not bad in terms of defensively structured. He just doesn't play a lot, at least in the Anaheim Ducks organization. I think this is them telling you, like, we did not like our fourth line options last year. We did not like having to play like guys like Pius Suter or Pavel Buchnevich on the fourth line. We need somebody that is a consistent threat on that fourth line, which also goes into what we talked about. I don't know if Stenberg's making this roster.
I would also add this. Man, think about the players they've added this offseason. Ross Johnston, 6'5", 235. Think about McTavish, size, get to the front of the net. Brandon Carlo, who's going to join us in about 5 minutes here on BK and Ferrario, 6'5", 220. It's very clear that I don't know if this is an Alexander Steen move, if this is an Army move, or if it's all of the above. They have put a premium so far in the offseason on adding size to the lineup. And now you look at this fourth line. Ross Johnston, 6'5", 240. Alexei Toropchenko, 6'6", 225. Jack Finley, 6'6", 230. That is a ton of size that's going to be on the ice. And if you look at your third pair defensively, especially if Carlo's on it, you could potentially have like Brandon Carlo and Cam Fowler on the ice as your third pair with that fourth line. That is a ton of size out in length out on the ice.
Are we sure Ross Johnston's not going to be a defenseman?
6'5", 240?
I mean, I could put that on the third pair and feel pretty comfortable at times with this one.
I mean, I think that's basically going to be the role, right? Is, hey, go out there and don't allow anybody to score on us. I mean, I don't care if you score, but nobody's scoring when you're out there.
I mean, your fourth line is just now all about size and physicality and defensive structure. And I really can't blame them for that. They've never had a fourth line that they felt like they could use. And now, again, it's not like Ross Johnston is just some schlub who can't get into the lineup. He played 63 games last year for the Ducks, that's a Joel Quenneville Anaheim Ducks team. Yep. So this is a guy that they feel like can play. So, yeah, I see this contract, and I'm like, cool. So I can now write down in pen what I think the fourth line is going to be. Toropchenko, Jack Finley, and Ross Johnston. And everybody else, those names that you listed, you're competing for either the third line wing or you're competing to be the 13th or 14th forward.
Now I'm legitimately intrigued on what they decide to do with Suter. Because Suter's small. So if they're going in a different direction with their size, does Suter now become the piece that they potentially try to flip for something? I mean, could Suter potentially be involved in that deal with Carolina?
That's what I'm wondering, because like a Lindstein and a Pius Suter get you an Alexander Nikishin because you open up rosters or cap space.
Nikishin for Suter, Lindstein, and a first. Yeah. Something like that.
And if you're the Blues, and I know we were skeptical about the $8 million, and I totally get that, but man, you're bringing in more size because he's like 6'3", 6'4", he's 200-something pounds, he plays the left side. You've completely overhauled your defensive pairings, and you've completely overhauled your bottom six, or really your bottom nine, I guess, if you're going to look at it that way. So,
somebody on the text line said, how much cap space do the Blues have at this point? The cap is not a problem for them.
Now they're at, with Johnston's contract, which Puckpedia hasn't put it on there, 11 Krug LTIR. So what is that?
Ross
17?
Johnston is now on there for Puckpedia. So $11 million with Ross Johnston into the mix. They basically have $11 million to spend because with Krug, we've seen this in the past, they would prefer not to put him on LTIR until the first night of the season. So then they would have the $6.5 million to spend in season to maximize that LTIR spending. Yeah. So you have about $11 million. They're fine. They don't have any cap
but remember,
constraints.
they got to sign McMichael, and my assumption is McMichael's probably going to be somewhere between $4 and $5 mil. So you're going to have about $7 mil to work with.
But in this scenario that we're talking about, if you're moving Suter, you don't have cap issues.
Yeah,
you're fine.
You're opening up.
And Suter does not have no trade protection. So,
and the Suter thing makes sense if you move him out because that's just replacing Connor McMichael's contract in that point. So It feels like there's still more moves to be had with the Blues because now they've got a lot of guys for very little space. And I know they like internal competition, but I don't think you have Suter as a 13th forward. I don't think you have Berggren as a 13th or a 14th forward. Berggren's probably fighting for that spot, but I feel like you're going to probably see a Suter go to bring something in that helps you, which would be the defensive side.
He's Alex, that's T-Bone, I'm BK. Brandon Carlo, new Blues defenseman, adding a little bit of size along with everybody else they've added. We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex Ferrario, I'm Brandon Kiley. Happy to go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by the newest Blues defenseman, Brandon Carlo, joining us here on the show. Brandon, we appreciate you hopping on with us today. Talk a little bit about your new team. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. Thank you guys for having me on the show today.
Absolutely. We're thrilled to have you. So tell us a little bit about what the last few days have been for you as you find out the news that you've been traded here to the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah. Overall, I'm very excited for a new opportunity. It's a great place to play, a different experience for me that I'm really excited for. But, there's obviously certain emotions that go into being traded for sure. But as we've settled through those, I'm just really finding myself excited for the next opportunity here.
Brandon, I think for Blues fans, the first thing they do is they say, Brandon Carlo, that name sounds familiar. Oh, yeah, right. Boston in 2018-19. So now you're on the other side of that Stanley Cup matchup. What do you remember about that season and that playoff series against the Blues?
For sure. A big name that I remember from that playoff series is Jordan Binnington, for sure. But overall, I think there's some great guys in that room that I'm very happy to be paired with. And on their side, Colton Parayko is a guy that, as we were going along in that series, I had a tremendous respect for his game. I'm excited to learn from him. But a lot of great people, Robert Thomas as well. So I'm just really excited. They've all already texted me and made me feel very welcome. So it's a very nice thing.
Brandon, I feel like you have a ton of connections to this team. You played with Torrey Krug. You guys were pairing mates at one point in Boston. He, of course, had a tenure here in St. Louis. You played for Jim Montgomery, who's now the head coach here in St. Louis. Last year, you played for Craig Berube, who had a long extended time here in St. Louis. Have you been able to learn a little bit about what it's like to play for the Blues?
Absolutely, and I've even had the opportunity to train in the summertime with Bortuzzo and Tyler Bozak, and so I've definitely heard fantastic things. Everybody, especially with families, has had a fantastic experience there, and I'm really excited for my family as well to have that sort of feel and get there and understand what it's all about.
So, Brandon, you've never been somebody who hasn't had opportunity to play. I mean, whether it was in Boston or Toronto, you were always a go-to guy in terms of a top four pair, playing penalty kill, eating a lot of minutes on the ice. But when you look at the St. Louis Blues situation and you find out you're traded there, is it the same feeling for you that, man, it's a spot that I'm going to go to, that I get to use my certain skill set to the right way because you know the coach and how he likes to use you?
Absolutely, and I think my objective with any situation that I put into, I just want to do what's best for the team and contribute in the best ways that I can. I think first and foremost, I'm a kind of guy who will go out there and do anything that needs to be done with the shot blocking and things on the penalty kill. I love that. It's something that I take a lot of pride in. So I'm very happy to be familiar with Monty and him to be familiar with me as well and know what I can bring. So. It should be a great experience, absolutely.
You say you like shot blocking.
No, he said he loves shot blocking. Like, Brandon, you just basically spoke to every Blues fan heart right there that I love shot blocking.
Also, who likes that? you're taking 80-mile-an-hour pucks off of the knees.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hear the crowd celebrate too much for me other than that, so I'll just keep getting in front of those shots.
Well, I'll also know that if you train with Robert Bortuzzo, that's a guy who made a career out of diving in front of Alex Ovechkin one-timers. So you train with a guy who did it probably at the best for the longest time. Absolutely, yeah. I know. I think he might have had some bigger shin pads when we faced him in the finals there because we couldn't get anything past him, but he's a great guy. Brandon, what worked so well in those 2 years under Jim Montgomery with Boston? Because, I know plus-minus is something that people like or they don't like when it comes to stats, but, I mean, it was 2 of your best years defensively playing for Jim Montgomery. Was it something that he did or something that the team just worked so well with Jim Montgomery under? Yeah, I think a mix of both. His energy as soon as he came in, it was, a happier energy. He was excited to be at the rink each day, and our group really responded well to that. We had a great group as well, but he was the right man leading the ship for sure. So I had a lot of fun playing under him, and when he called me, it was great to hear his voice again, and the excitement both ways is awesome. What have the Blues told you? We're talking to Brandon Carlo, by the way, new Blues defenseman. What have the Blues told you about kind of what they're expecting out of you when it comes to your role with the team? Yeah, I think first and foremost, just come in and, be myself. Transitioning through a trade it can be tough. But I think, just bringing some character within the room and just kind of being myself, being vocal on the ice when I can be, but also just the penalty killing aspect and, taking a lot of pride in that.
I think will be mostly my role. But I'm excited to try and adjust in any way that I'm needed.
Well, and especially when you look at this roster too, Brandon, I mean, there is a lot of guys. I think probably about 12 of the 13 forwards that are on the roster are under the age of 26. And by no means are you an older player. You're 29 years old. But, you know, what's the value of being around younger guys like that in a roster that's kind of all in that same age group?
Oh, it's very exciting. I love that kind of energy with the younger guys. I still feel like one of the young guys, even though I have 2 kids and a beautiful family and all the things. But, no, I absolutely love it. And it should be fun to try and use some of the things that I learned from great examples throughout my career with Bergeron and Chara and things like that to try and bring a little bit of that and just, help this group, like I said, in any way that I can.
How old are the kiddos, Brandon?
I have a 4 and a 2-year-old, so they're flying around, and it's not very quiet at my house very often.
God,
so
you're speaking.
I love my game. Yeah.
You're speaking right to my heart, Brandon. I've got 3 under the age of 5, and they're all girls.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we're in the same boat. I got a girl and a boy, but it's a blast.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, exactly what you said, though. It's never quiet in the house, but that's the good types of off seasons.
When you move, Brandon, I know whether it's in Boston, Toronto, now here in St. Louis, does the family come with you? Do they stay back at the home base? How do you guys typically go about that?
Yeah, this time it's kind of a nice situation, just with having a little bit of time to adjust for the transition before the season starts. So, they'll be coming out with me 100%. I'm a huge family-oriented person and couldn't do it without them. So, they need to be there with me for sure.
I guess that's right. This is the first time that you've moved to a team in the offseason, right, Brandon? Like, otherwise it's all been during the trade deadline.
Yes, exactly. So it makes it a little less turbulent, but there's still some details, but we have a better feel of it this time now.
Is there an easier transition into the regular, and I'm asking you this for somebody who's going through it the first time, but having that entire offseason to get accustomed to the team in the city rather than jumping ship in the middle of the season and joining in on a playoff push?
Yeah, I mean, I think just knowing or having the opportunity to figure out where you're going to live and having a little bit of time to do that is nice. But yeah, I think there's different components to each. When you're jumping into a group, it's so fast-paced. Like during the season, there's not that much time to think. This time I feel like I can process it a little bit more and take time to prepare, and just be ready for camp and all of that. But definitely 2 different experiences, I would say.
Well, Brandon, you're going to have a lot of fun here with the family in St. Louis. It's a great spot. Yeah. I know everybody on the text line will probably be telling us we got to mention there's a free zoo. It's fantastic. You can go there at any time. Arch is great.
All right, great.
We've got fantastic Italian food over on the hill. So you and the family are going to love it. We're excited to have you here in St. Louis. Can't thank you enough for the time here today, and we'll talk with you again soon, Brandon.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Alex BK. You guys are awesome, and we'll definitely chat again, but I'm very excited and should be fun.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Brandon Carlo joining us here on 101 ESPN. Appreciate his time on the show. We had heard, Alex, that he's a great interview, great guy to have a conversation with, and I would say Blues fans are going to enjoy watching him here in the Note, and they're probably going to enjoy hearing from him as he is now with the Blues.
I just, when they acquired him, the first thing you kind of think of is like, Robert Bortuzzo, Joel Edmondson, but now hearing him talk more about doing whatever it takes to win for your team. First of all, that matches what Steen is wanting with his team. But second of all, hearing him mention the penalty kill. I mean, there's no coincidence in my eyes that Robert Bortuzzo is now a part of the scouting staff for this team.
Pro scouting side. I wonder who helped in making this acquisition for the Blues.
And Bort sat in the booth next to our broadcast booth all season long watching, and I just can't help but think how many times he was watching that penalty kill going, man, they could use somebody that my skill set that I used to do. Man, they need somebody who's willing to block shots and dive in front of this. And, man, that's Brandon Carlo to a T.
I do find it interesting. I mean, you look at what they had special teams-wise a year ago. PK was okay, but not great.
Yeah.
They added Brandon Carlo. He should help with that. They added, I would assume Ross Johnston is probably going to be part of that as well.
Yep.
And then you look at the power play. McMichael's probably going to be a part of that. And I bet you on opening night, the guy that's going to be parked in front of the net is none other than Mason McTavish.
Yep.
So they have hopefully upgraded on special teams in a serious way. All of this is, byproduct. 5-on-5 is going to be important as well. But special teams, I think, have been at the forefront of a lot of these moves as well.
Yeah, and Carlo's a good piece to have at 5-on-5. McMichael's a guy that played penalty kill for the Washington Capitals. So, again, the Blues love versatility when they have multiple options on penalty kill and multiple options at 5-on-5 in the offensive defensive zone. And Brandon Carlo matches that skill set to a T.
Couple pieces of news for you to pass along from the NHL. Jack Rosselbeck has signed with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is an interesting one. Stuart Skinner, 2 years, $3.8 million per year with the Winnipeg Jets.
Now, why would they sign a goaltender? I think Hellebuck's going to Buffalo. I think he's signing with I think he's going to get traded to the Buffalo Sabres, and Winnipeg knows that, and they chose Stuart Skinner as their option B.
Weren't a lot of good options on the market.
No, there weren't, but I think I would have thrown more money at Bobrovsky before I would have thrown it at Stuart Skinner.
Darren Drager. This does not mean a trade involving Hellebuck is imminent. Decent insurance or backup for the Winnipeg Jets.
I mean, to be fair, they need somebody who can, play 30 games in a season for Winnipeg so that they don't play Hellebuck for 70. But
here's the thing. If you're Stuart Skinner, I'm not signing with you unless I know that he's gone.
Yep. I'm not signing unless I know I'm playing.
They can sell that. That's fine. But why would Skinner sign there?
No, he wouldn't.
He wants another opportunity. This is only a 2-year deal. Now he's making decent money, sure, but he's making legit backup money at this point. I would imagine he's going to want an opportunity. And behind Hellebuck, you're playing 20 games a year. That's it, max. So my guess is something's happening soon with Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
I don't know when it's going to happen, but I would imagine before the start of the season, you're going to see Hellebuck traded somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, Darren, we appreciate you trying to calm the storm, but we know what's coming.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll talk to Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues. But next, we will officially get to questions and answers. I've teased this 5 different times over the last 2 days, and we've now done it twice here on PK and Ferrario. Congo's making this interesting, man. It's 1-0, 60 minutes in.
1-0
against England.
This guy.
Great game on the field between Congo and England.
What'd you say? A great game?
Yeah, on the field.
First of all, match, pitch. Jesus, guy.
I do like Congo's jerseys.
They are nice.
Great colors.
Somebody brought up how this was going to be a great slate for World Cup matchups today, and then I heard that awful squeal that everybody dreads hearing. Yeah, I don't really know about that. England is Congo.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers.
And that's not T-Bone, by the way, who made that squeal.
From the 314, guys, do you think there's a potential market to shop Booch today?
No.
50 to 60 point producer at $8 million who can play in any situation seems valuable.
No, absolutely not. If he has a good year this year, maybe you shop him again next year, but no. And I don't know how much of an appetite they have to move Booch. They might look at Booch and be like, no, we need some type of third-line presence that can play penalty kill for us.
They also just don't need the money.
Yeah.
The bigger part there is the roster spot, but the money's not a problem for the Blues right now. They're fine with their cap situation. It's purely about, can you make it work with the roster?
Well, and
I think they can right now.
And that's the thing, it's not... It's saying what nobody else has really said about Kyrou. I just really wonder if they value the locker room stuff, and I don't know what Kyrou was in there. I think he wasn't a bad teammate. I
never heard a thing about him being a problem.
I didn't either.
In that way.
But I just, you look at Carlo, you look at McTavish, who was a captain in the World Juniors, you look at McMichael, who there were so many people in Washington player-wise that were disappointed to see him go. Ross Johnston, I have to imagine, was a guy that people liked being around. I just wonder if that was the priority of trying to shape this locker room into what they want for all of these younger players.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 573, what's the one move that you want to see the Blues make? It can be a free agent or a trade. Not what you think they will make, but if they could make one move and you would want them to do it, what would it be?
I mean, I'd like for them to trade for Nikishin. And if they could get that contract to like $6 million a year for 4 years, I think that would massively improve this roster. That top six of Broberg, Mayu, Nikishin, Parayko, Carlo, and Fowler, I mean, that to me is one of the better ones in the Western Conference in terms of depth, because then Tucker is your seventh defenseman, depending on who goes the other way. Juracek's not even on that roster. That's the move that I'd like to see them make.
I don't even know if there's a move I would like to see them make. I'm okay if they're just kind of done right now, right? Like, I think you've got some competition for your third line, competition for your fourth line, and defensively, I don't think you necessarily need to make that move, and I think he's a big risk. He kind of scares me. I'm with BK. So weird if I say the one thing I don't want to see him do is not do anything.
Scott Perunovich is back, boys. Not with the Blues, with the Kings.
Okay. I thought you were going to say the Blue. I don't know if you saw my look there, but I was like, what? I was very surprised to hear that.
Let's talk of big guys, and then Scott's brought back.
That's kind of what I wanted the reaction to be. So
I was genuinely shocked when you said that. I'm kind of with T-Bone. I don't know that there is a move that I would love. The Nikishin one is interesting. I get a little worried about the money on that one, but if not him, I'd probably say a winger that is involved in a trade. Not anybody on the free agent market, because this market, I'm good, man. I genuinely don't think there's a single player that I'd be like, yeah, given the contracts that they're likely to get, I would want them on the St. Louis Blues. No. Anthony Mantha, I like, and I think he could bring something that is valuable for this team. Yet? I've not seen him sign anywhere, but the projection is 4 years by $6.5 million.
No way.
I don't think that makes sense for where the Blues are at right now.
No.
I like John Carlson, but not for where the Blues are at right now. And now that they've added in Brandon Carlo, there's no need for that.
I'll tell you the one for me that I'd be interested in is if they go to David Perron. He's probably got one more year left. Competition for the third line.
Foot speed wise, I don't know that makes sense. Like your third line would be Booch, Dvorsky, and David Perron.
Yeah, but God, I mean, Perron is, he's just a pain in the ass to play against, which I would imagine they'd want. I'm not saying they do it. I just like if this guy's still out there, he's 37, so I don't think that anybody's going to be throwing out $4 million at him. But if he signs for 1 year at $1 million, would anybody be upset with that?
No, that's fine.
Yeah, that to me, he could still play about 13 minutes a night. So I think that tenacity is what you want around. Yeah.
Potentially.
And second power play unit as a one-timer threat. So I don't know. That'd be the one that It's not the one that I want them to do, but it's one of those moves that if it gets to the point, I could see them. And I mean, you talk about a perfect crescendo to his career. He only re-signs with Blues, or not only, because I know he signed with other teams, but, wrapping up a career where it's in St. Louis would be pretty nice.
Stinks should just gotten the band back together, gone out and gotten Cole, go after Vladdy, get Perron.
To be fair, I don't think Steen and Cole were around the same time.
Honorary St. Louisan would still be somebody that I'd have some interest in.
Because his parents own a roofing company in St. Louis?
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
So I would still have interest in him. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't know what Vancouver would want at this point for a deal like that. Maybe
I think you're still talking about a first or a second round pick.
Yeah, and the Blues don't have their second, so you'd potentially have to give up your first. I don't know that I would want to give up their first in future years, just on the off chance that this doesn't go well for them.
No.
So I don't know that they could make that work anymore.
I would have traded for him for the 29th overall pick in that draft. I'm not trading any future firsts right now for my team because I just don't know what I'm going to look like. Unless it's, lottery protected or something like that.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 217. Are the signings today solidifying that Carbonneau will not make the roster this year? I would say at least at the beginning of the year, yes, barring significant injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say certainly like he's not going to make the team. I just think the chance is very slim for him to make. He's going to have to outperform a lot of NHL players to make this roster.
I'll say with certainty he will not make the opening night roster. Now, could he be up by the midway point? I'm with BK on that one. I think there's a chance he could eventually be up, but I have 0% chance that he makes a roster on opening night.
Right now, I think there's a real chance that Stenberg doesn't make the roster, and he's far more ready for the NHL than Carbonneau is, and I think there's a clearer spot on the roster for him. So, yeah, I would say it's quite unlikely to me that we see that. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get into the junk drawer. We've got Mike McKenna joining us in the 1 o'clock hour. Just heard back from Craig Johnson, former assistant coach with the Anaheim Ducks. He is expecting to join us at some point tomorrow. So we'll hear
we got
from
Jeff
a former
tomorrow too.
Assistant coach with the Anaheim Ducks. He was there with both Johnston, the new fourth line winger for the Blues, and with Mason McTavish, so we'll get to hear from him. Hell, half of the former Anaheim Ducks play for this team, so
probably
we'll get
Cam
his
Fowler
thoughts,
too.
Coming up here tomorrow on the show. Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joins us next.
Hey, listen, 5 reasons that you want to get on the horn. Call Classic Air Care or go to classicaircare.com and book an appointment. 1, the speed of it. They've got over 100 vans on the road. They can get to places faster, and they can typically get to you within 24 hours. The quality, how about over 9,000 5-star reviews that have won the St. Louis headlines for Best Heating and Cooling Company 3 straight years? Number 3, they got a personal touch. Number 4, free service calls with quality repairs. And number 5, a free second opinion. That's right. If you're unsure about another company's diagnosis before you spend extra money you may not need to do, call Classic Air Care. They will come out and assess everything, diagnose what you need, and give you a free second opinion. That's the quality you get at Classic Air Care. Go online at classicaircare.com. Book an appointment today.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals beat the Braves last night 5-3 as they take Game 1 of their 3-game set in Atlanta. Game 2 is tonight. 6:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy will be on the mound for St. Louis. And NHL free agency opened up earlier today, and the St. Louis Blues announced a 3-year, $2 million AAV with forward Ross Johnston. If the Blues make any other moves throughout the day today, we'll keep you updated here on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We're talking off air. Brandon Carlo seems like the nicest guy ever.
He doesn't. He and Parayko are going to be best friends.
Just 6'5", 235, biggest human beings you will ever see. Yesterday, I was reminded as we were sitting down next to Colton Parayko.
Oh, yeah.
How small of a man I am.
Yep.
And how large of a human being he is.
I just, the only thing I could think of was when he said, he's like, oh, yeah, and that Stanley Cup run, in the Stanley Cup final, when everything's on the line and you're at your nastiest to try and win everything. He said, me and Colton got along really well. And all I could think of is one guy just cross-checking the other. Hey, you're doing a great job, man. You too. But who was that in football that got tackled by J.J. Watt? And they stood up there like,
great hit.
Hell
great
yeah,
hit.
man. That was awesome.
Andrew Luck, wasn't it?
That's what those two are going to be.
Yeah,
I can't wait
feels
for the
about right.
I want to make friendship bracelets with them.
We need to get mic'd up segments. Maybe Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, could help us make this happen. We need mic'd up segments where those two are mic'd up for a game, and we could just hear what the conversations are like going back and forth between Brandon Carlo and Colton Parayko, two of the nicest and largest human beings that you'll
Curbs
ever
loves
meet.
my nickname, so he's going to love this one. If and when Parayko ever has kids, you, me, Parayko, and Carlo should start a podcast and call it Friends with Kids.
What?
We're all friends because we're all friendly and we all have kids.
That was awful.
We just called the Dad Pod.
Yeah,
I'll give you credit. That's a good name. Dad Pod is good.
Friends with Kids is better.
That was like just expecting this great firework finale, and it just went.
Yeah, just a dud.
Well, you know
Nothing
what?
happened.
That's on par with what fireworks are to me. It's pointless.
Really?
I hate fireworks.
All
Are you
right.
serious?
I hate fireworks.
Are you American?
No.
Curbs hates New Year's Eve, so he knows where I'm coming from.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I love the 4th of July.
I hate fireworks. I think they're pointless. And maybe it's because I've lived in Jefferson County my entire life and people shoot off fireworks from like May 1st until
they
about
love this
October
country.
31st. I don't know what it is, but it's
They're proud to
annoying
be
as
Americans.
hell. And
especially on a day like today where we've got the U.S. men's national team playing and Chris Kerber's buddy, Tim Ream, taking the pitch.
I'm sure Tim Ream probably hates fireworks.
Listen, I can't wait for that game. These round of 32 games have been just absolutely awesome, with France kind of having the biggest butt kicking of any of them. But yeah, this is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to that one. I'm out at a place called Samuscott Orchards right now in Kinderhook, New York. So the kids and my nieces and nephews have just picked a bunch of like zucchini and strawberries and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting back into some air conditioning and watching some soccer later today.
Well, quick update for you, Curbs, and close your ears if you are recording this game and you want to see it. England has knotted it up. It's 1 goal apiece between them and Congo. 75th minute in this one. England was down 1-0. They have tied it up at 1 with 15 minutes to go prior to added time. All right, Curbs, let's talk a little bit about the Blues because they've been more active than I expected over the last few days. Add in Brandon Carlo, add some size defensively, add in a big mongoon, Ross Johnston, to a 3-year contract at $2 million per year. Alex said he led the league in fighting majors a year ago.
He and Matthew Liberatore both had 11 of them.
What do you make of their recent additions, Curbs?
Well, we say mongoon in a very respectful and loving manner.
Amen to that.
Because, I listened. There's two things, and I think let's look at the picture of a whole with what they've added. Size. A 6'5" defenseman in Brandon Carlo, a veteran D-man. And then they added something that we talked a ton about all throughout last year, guys. They needed some grit. They needed some jam, and they didn't waste any time to make sure that he didn't go somewhere else. So they needed that element, size and some nastiness. He threw a heck of a boarding penalty back in March onto Justin Hall that had Tyler Tucker go right after him. The fight didn't last long. It only lasted a few seconds. They ended up falling down to the ice, But this guy's big. He's fought guys from A.J. Greer to Ryan Reeves to the tough guys in the National Hockey League, and it is an element that they desperately needed in their bottom six. And most importantly, they needed this element because you're still dealing with young guys trying to figure things out in the National Hockey League. And when you're doing that, you've got to have some protection out there. We saw what Pat Maroon did to this team. We saw what Pat Maroon did to 2 Stanley Cup championships with the Tampa Bay Lightning. There's a factor involved, and sometimes it's just a little twitch and snap factor. And so I absolutely love this move that the Blues did within the first hour or so of free agency. I think it's fantastic.
When you see that he gets a 3-year contract, Curbs, and $2 million AAV, one, I know that's the going rate in the NHL these days for even fourth liners, but two, I look at that fourth line and say, man, you assume Ross Johnston is playing there almost on a nightly basis, as well as a guy like Jack Finley and Toropchenko. It's going to be tough for some of these other guys to crack this roster like a Nathan Walker or a Jonathan Berggren.
Well, I mean, keep this in mind. I think in his 10-year career, he's only hit the 60-game plateau twice. And that was,
3, 2, 1. All right, Curbs, we'll see if we can get you back on the line. He had told us prior to the interview, hey, I'm in a spot with some questionable cell service. I'll do the best that I can, but no guarantees that it'll last the whole interview. We got about 6 minutes in, so pretty good.
We talked about 2 minutes of hockey, which is great. But to his point, the 60-game plateau that he has hit have been 2 of the last 3 years, both in Anaheim, one underneath Greg Cronin and the other one underneath Joel Quenneville.
So if he plays, let's call it 60 games next year, you need another 20 games from somebody on that fourth line.
Yeah, and that's Nathan Walker.
Probably.
And that's potentially guys in your minor league system as well. It's a Stenberg, it's if Suter's on this roster, things like that.
Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us again here on BK and Ferrario. Curbs, you were saying he's only reached the 60-game threshold a couple of times. 2 of the last 3 years, also played 43 games in 2024. Continue with that thought, if you would.
Yeah, sorry for the delicate cell service there, fellas. But look, it's an element that the Blues need, but maybe they don't need it for 82 games, right? But it is size, it is grit, it is jam, that they really need. And so look, at some point, if it does go well and this team gets on a roll and roles really get defined, the bottom line is this now, I believe, is 13, 14 forwards before you've inked Connor McMichael, who's a restricted free agent on your roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are guys that are hoping to make this team that are not going to make this team. But I think it's spectacular that they recognized a very specific need and they went out and they filled it. So 32 years of age, $2 million with the cap going up, the cap space, and all that the other factors involved there. This is a very good contract and a real need for the team.
By the way, just to pass along some news, Matt Kessel, 1 year, $850,000 with the New York Islanders. So he has officially signed. It's a one-way deal with the New York Islanders for him. Kerbs, do you think there's more to be done here? As of today, like if they wanted to go into the season with this current roster, they could. They've got the requisite number of NHL players under contract. They've got seemingly top 12 forwards with a couple of extras, top 6 D-men. You probably have Tucker as your extra. Do you think there's still more work to be done here?
I don't know that there's a whole lot of need right now, to be honest with you. Now, if somebody falls to where they go, holy cow, we can really better the team, which I understand is as cliche as it gets. But if somebody falls, I don't see them getting into one of those, 5 times 5 kind of contracts for something like that unless there's just a surprise out there. So I don't see them wanting to block any of the young forwards. I think that the moves of McTavish and McMichael fill some needs, get you some depth down the center, fit the demographic that you're looking for. And so I put all that in there. And, if there's a depth piece to be signed at a league minimum at someone there, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. But I don't see them actively searching. I think they went out and got exactly what they wanted and they needed here. And now, frankly, through both ends of the lineup, guys, the forwards and the defense, they've got the ability that maybe it's a Carbonell, maybe it's a Jiricek, maybe it's, whomever, that comes up along the way. Like to me, when does Dylan Peterson potentially crack this lineup? They're really high on the way he's developed down there. And this is a team guy. And guys, I was in Springfield, Mass just last night. And talking to a guy that was one of their off-ice officials that has been a part of, been part of Springfield hockey for close to 30 years now in many different roles. And he described him as he's an energy guy that'll go through a brick wall for his team. And that's exactly what the Blues need. And he'll fit a younger role. So maybe he learns from a guy like Ross Colton. So I'm not anticipating much more, but I get, like anything else, we just have to wait and see.
Freudian slip there. I want Ross Colton on this team, too.
No, we wanted Ross Colton on this team. Not
trying
until
to get him here for 3 years.
What he looked like then. Ross Johnston is who we got.
Guys, listen, there's a contract that, and this is something to keep an eye on, trends, okay? We saw Louis Arena re-sign with the Florida Panthers for 8 years, okay? Now, he's we're coming up in, I think it's September is the last time you could extend somebody for up to 8 years, right? But it's the Radko Gudas contract, and that doesn't seem like much. Yes, he re-signs with the Florida Panthers, but he's 36 years old and signed a 6-year deal. He's not seeing the end of that deal, right? But he signed for an average annual value of $1.25 million. So eventually Florida realized this guy retires. We'll have to maybe eat some cap then, but in this win now mode that the Florida Panthers are in, this is how we fit this in for this kind of thing. But I'm curious if we see some more of these kind of deals that bridge guys into their retirements just to keep the AAV lower. So that again, I look for trends and stuff like that, and maybe things like that are one-off. But I'm curious if you start to see more, ways of how you deal with cap space by signing guys like that into their late 30s and early 40s.
I think you will. We see this in other sports as well. And the other thing that I think we're going to see, Kerbs, is just huge numbers, right? There was a projection earlier today from Elliot Friedman. He thinks it's 3 years, $18 million is what Quinn Hughes is potentially going to get on his extension. There's been some speculation Cale Makar could get $20 million per year on an extension for him. The reason that I'm bringing this up is not so much to ask you about what the Blues could do in that regard, because I don't think they're playing in those waters just yet, but they do have some players that are under contract for long term now here in St. Louis, whether that is Philip Broberg, Dylan Holloway, Robert Thomas, and they're under contract for $8 million or less for all of them. How do you think that will influence what they're going to be able to do and the quality of the team that they're going to be able to put out onto the ice, not just in 26, but, as we get into 28, 29, and 30 as the cap continues to spike?
Well, I think, number one, you look at the fact that they locked these guys up younger. So Robert Thomas, Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg have extraordinarily fair, reasonable contracts for the next 5+ years. So it's not something you'll have to worry about. It also tells you that as they grow, as they get better, as holes fill, they're going to have plenty of cap space to go after a player that maybe you need to sign. And it also, like, the way Doug Armstrong has managed things, you know, up to this point, now it's on Alexander Steen. But, guys, I mean, look, you know, some of these contracts looks like amazing deals when Bowen Byram is signing for $12 million, right? You know, so if Robert Thomas, for example, was a restricted free agent this year versus 3 years ago, you're looking at a player that's going to getting $11-12 million. This is just the way the market goes, and it's not a slide on Robert Thomas or anything. This is just the timing of when you become free agents and how that part works. So I don't think it drastically impacts the Blues. Now, what I would always recommend to everybody is before you kind of go, oh, my gosh, that's a lot of money, look at where the cap is, look at what players' salaries are, and look at a player's salary as a percentage of the cap. And when you want to compare that, say, to 5-10 years ago, look for somewhat similarity. So you're not far off from where, you know, a $5 million contract for, you know, for Alexander Steen to play, you know, in your bottom six on a Stanley Cup championship team, that could end up being $7-8 million here this year and next year. So based on where the cap has gone to. So it's, you know, numbers look bigger, but percentage-wise gives you a real good picture.
Update on the World Cup. England up 2-1.
Would you say this is an incredible matchup so far?
This is amazing.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Listen, I mean, literally, except for the France game, all of these games are getting decided inside the final, you know, the final 15 minutes or extra time of the second half. I love it.
Yeah, wow. BK told me earlier today that this wasn't going to be a good game.
It wasn't supposed to be. England was a huge favorite in this one, and they were backs against the wall into the 65th minute.
World Cup guy right here.
Look at that Germany game. Germany dominated in every way, just couldn't get the goal in, and then they lose. So, like, Netherlands looked awful in their match too. I mean, I understand. I know that, you know, I know that
did that on purpose. That was stupid.
It was. I agree with you. Like, what a stupid coaching strategy.
Yeah, terrible.
But yeah, they deserve to lose that one.
No doubt. All right, Kerbs, we'll get you out of here on this. What do you think Jamie Snuggerud's worth? As an RFA next year, if he wanted, not if he wanted to, they could technically extend him this offseason. What do you think that number looks like if he were to try to get that done right now?
This is a fascinating one. You know, I don't, like, if you're Jimmy Snuggerud, I don't know if you do anything before you have another year, and I don't see what the value of the team getting something done extra early too. But in the end, guys, I think you're looking at a 30-plus goal scorer, you know, and someone that's going to get you, you know, I think anywhere 75 to 100 points, you know, at least 75 to 90 with the way that line looked with Holloway and Thomas, if something like that goes. So again, this is the kind of player you're talking about eventually ending up in that $11-12 million range at some point in time early in his career if his numbers progress the way his game looks like it could. And by the way, if you're the Blues, you're more than happy to pay it because you know you've got that kind of player.
Joel Hofer's the other one you got to wonder about, too, because if he goes on to have a great year this year to where he takes over that net and puts up big numbers, goalies aren't going for cheap these days, especially not breaking the bank.
Goalie numbers have relatively plateaued. And now it doesn't mean it's not going to change, but I think in some respect, goalie number teams have said, hey, we don't need 12, 15, 13 million to tie up in our goalies right now.
The difference, too, is there's not guys that are ready to reset the market there. Whereas with the forwards, there are guys right now that are resetting the market potentially this offseason as RFAs, like Leo Carlson, Connor Bedard, Fantilli. Isn't Celebrini RFA status soon?
Yeah, this next young crop is coming.
Next year?
I think so, next year.
Yeah.
So, I think those are the guys that are going to just... Like, you could see it legitimately a $20 million forward or an $18 million
forward. I'm not saying goalies are going to do that, but, I mean, goalies still, I mean, Jake Ottinger's making $8 million. I mean, you could see a guy
likely for Joel Hofer.
You get something between 7 and 9.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll leave you with this. With Brandon, to Brandon's last question, you know, the next thing you'll see is at some point in time, the Blues really have not had to play in that sandbox yet, have they? Because they haven't had a superstar player. They haven't had that stud. They haven't had a Norris Trophy winning defenseman. You know, they've done it by committee, you know. But one of these players you're hoping really steps into it. It could be Broberg. It could be Jiricek. Jiricek could come on And maybe Yurichek comes on and has a Schaefer-like season. Who knows, right? It could be a surprise here. It could be Carbonneau that steps in and becomes like Pasternak-like, or whatever it is. The Blues at some point in time are going to find themselves in a decision where they decide when and how they're going to play in that sandbox. But eventually, if you're going to get back to that pinnacle, you're going to have to play in the sandbox. They just haven't had to do it yet.
And I hope they sign him to an 8-year deal. And if the guy asks out after 4 years, they say, screw you, you got 4 years left on your contract. Curves, appreciate the time, man.
Damn.
All right, guys. Happy 4th of July. Stay safe. Be smart out there. Please don't drink and drive, everybody. Like, that's just like it's the one thing. Get in an Uber. Have some fun with your buddies. But use Uber, use Lyft. Don't drink and drive. And let's have a safe holiday weekend so we can talk some more hockey throughout the summer.
Curbs, appreciate you, man. We'll talk with you again soon.
Cheers, guys. Have a great day.
See you, Curbs.
Yeah, that's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us here on 101 ESPN.
I was watching the replay of that goal that Harry Kane scored, and
insane.
Congo just got caught ball gazing. It's like puck watching. They were ball gazing. They were watching it just go straight through the box, and then Kane just runs right past their guys.
That's what it's called?
Yeah, you can't get caught ball gazing, otherwise you're going to lose. Otherwise, they would have been going into extra minutes, tied 1-1. Losers.
We call it extra time.
What did I say?
I don't know.
Added
It wasn't
time,
right.
right?
I think I did say extra
An
time.
extra time when you go beyond the added time.
No.
Yeah. I think that's what I said.
Wow.
See, this is why you can't talk soccer, because they always just come at you with, well, you're not talking about it properly.
Ooh. Jacob Trouba.
Yeah. That's a...
Wow.
Yeah.
They should have traded for Colton Parayko.
They should have traded that second overall pick.
Jacob Trouba, according to a report, gets a 4-year, $8.25 million per year contract with the San Jose Sharks. I like a lot of what San Jose has done. I think they're doing a hell of a job in building this team.
That's an overpay. But that's a team that's desperate for defensemen. And if you're going to sign free agents in California, you're going to have to raise the stakes a little bit because of the taxes.
4 years, 8.25.
I'm not even really worried about the 4 years. He's 32. I'd be more worried about the $8 million. He's not an $8 million defenseman.
I mean,
but that's the going rate. I mean, I
don't love the $8 million, and the fact that you have to do an $8 million deal for 4 years ain't great. Now, it does not appear there's any no trade protection on this. And if there's not, all right, well, maybe you can get out of it in a couple of years, but woof.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for that.
Indeed. And Trouba's not even good defensively.
Yeah, that ain't great.
They should feel good about having Broberg at 8 and Parayko at 6. And I know people feel like the Fowler, you probably shouldn't have paid him that, but I'll take Fowler at $6 million versus Jacob Trouba at $8 million.
Yeah, I still go back on that, and I'm like, man, if they just didn't make that deal.
I mean, you'd probably be in the market right now looking for a left-handed defenseman with some veteran presence.
And make the trade.
You're paying him $8 million.
For Nikishin, I'd rather have that at that price.
You're paying him
$8.
Yeah, I mean, either way, you're paying a defenseman $8. And
you'd rather have Cam Fowler?
Oh, no.
No trade clause for 3 years at $6
than Jacob Trouba?
Well, yeah, that's not the alternative necessarily, though. You don't have to trade.
But Nikishin's adding to the team. Like, I don't think, yes, I would rather have Nikishin over Fowler without question. But in this scenario, I'm saying if you don't have Fowler, I think you're probably looking at the market to sign a veteran defenseman.
You could trade for one.
Maybe. But, I mean, I don't know who else is really trading at this point.
I would just go sign Ian Cole.
Yeah,
like that's
still $5 million
for 1 year, though.
Yep.
And I have more flexibility long term. That's the kind of thing that I talk about. Like, if you do this Fowler deal, it just prevents you from going out and making these other moves.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me concerned.
I think the going rate, $6 million for a defenseman, you're just not going to see that anymore unless it's a guy for 1 year that's barely in the lineup. And I'll take Cam Fowler if you can get him back to what he is. Which,
Darren,
are you going with the news that just...
I got a couple of pieces of news.
Okay, because I got one from Friedman.
Drager saying, sounds like Werenski, his agent, and the Blue Jackets spoke today in an effort to clear the air and calm things down. Werenski comfortable now going back to Columbus. The GM could present him with a trade in the meantime, but that's not currently on the radar. I know what you're going with here, Alex. Big news as well.
Yep. Sounds like Sergei Bobrovsky and the Toronto Maple Leafs are agreeing to a contract.
Earlier today, I think it was Elliot Friedman who said 3 years, $7 million per is what the updated asking price
better than the 6 years that was originally reported that he wanted to sign with. So to me, this means that if Hellebuck is getting moved, it's going to be one of Buffalo or Carolina.
Yeah, agreed.
And I think it's going to be Buffalo. I don't think Carolina's got the pieces to trade for Hellebuck. I think Buffalo does.
Or maybe Florida. That would be the one other team that I would throw into the mix here.
I don't think Florida would now that they got Markstrom.
I forgot they got Markstrom.
And they got
not Florida.
Yeah.
Apologies. Take that back.
And they got Akira Schmid, so.
Yeah.
Because Akira Schmid is the better goaltender. God, I love free agency, right?
The trades are the best part because free agency kind of stinks this year.
What are you talking about, man?
There's like 3 players that I care about.
Yeah, free agency is going to stink for years to come.
I think this is the new normal.
Yep.
You know, it happens in the NBA. There's not really much of a free agency period in the NFL nowadays either. There's typically like 2 or 3 guys that really change teams that make a significant difference. Mm-hmm. Major League Baseball is really the only one that has legit free agency. And for them, it's typically about 3 or 4 guys as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you have more depth pieces that make a difference in Major League Baseball than what we're seeing right now in the NHL.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's the way that it feels narratively.
Well, and Tebow brought this up before when the report was that we're going to see expansion. Man, it's going to be fascinating to see how those expansion teams operate because how much talent is there to go around for all of that? You're going to have to build it through the draft like Seattle's doing because no teams can really do what Vegas did.
T-Bone, can we skip junk drawer today?
I would recommend it, yeah.
Coming up next, Mike McKenna, the former NHL goalie here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Big news in the NHL. We mentioned it previously. It was expected to happen, and now it is official. Bobrovsky to the Toronto Maple Leafs, 3 years, $7 million per year, Alex.
Well, Toronto's finally got a goalie that they can trust. I don't know if they have the team in front of the goalie that you can trust, but you got the goalie. So I don't love that move for Toronto, but you needed to get a goalie to convince Austin Matthews to, want to stick around. So.
Devin Levi has been traded from Buffalo to the Edmonton Oilers. Devin Levi was not very good last year, but he is going to Edmonton to once again continue the carousel of goalies
so
in
they
Edmonton.
Went from Stuart Skinner to Tristan Jarry to Connor Ingram and now Devin Levi.
And we now go to our goalie expert, one of the best in the business. He's the former NHL goalie.
This guy,
Mike McKenna, joining us as he does each and every Friday on BK and Ferrario. Mike, appreciate the time, man. How you doing today?
Well, you know what? I don't need to make my career any worse, guys. So don't lump me into that mix. But no, I'm doing great, and it is wild to see a lot of the goalie movement right now, and the just basically all the holes in the dikes that are being plugged with goalies that no one's been a superstar besides Bobrovsky, really. I mean, it's just kind of wild for me to see, and even Toronto, a team that wasn't any good last year. I guess they're planning on contending this season, eh, guys?
Mike, can I mention where you're at, what you're doing this week, or is that a behind-the-scenes thing?
He's mentioned it.
No. So, I'm just lucky enough this week to be able to go and help out and be a guest coach at the Tampa Bay Lightning development camp. So it's been awesome, man. I just get to play with some goalies and just get back on the ice again and have some fun doing it. Is just really, really cool. I'm actually down here with Pat Maroon as well. So
nice.
It's our stalls are right next to each other, and it's a nice St. Louis reunion. His son Anthony's on the ice in the camp, who also he had a really nice year in Muskegon of the USHL and is going to the OHL next year with the London Knights. So really exciting time for the Maroon family, and sharing the ice with Pat like in this setting is just so cool, man. Like incredible career, and you see him out here being really in depth and teaching, and just his knowledge of the game is so strong.
Do you think he's going to have some type of role in hockey moving forward? I know once his son kind of gets into the hockey career trajectory, you want to be around for that. But do you see a coach as a Pat Maroon future position?
It could be. I mean, I think he's left himself open from talking to him to a lot of things. He's been doing broadcasting with NHL Network and did coach a little bit with that Muskegon team last year. But you can really see it when you're around him, how he processes puck protection, shooting, things that are very skill-oriented. I think he'd be a phenomenal skills coach if that's the direction that he decided to go to. And, part of that also is just he's a fun guy to be around and players relate to him. And that really matters. So I think he'd be phenomenal at it.
We're talking to Mike McKenna here on 101 ESPN. All right, Mike, let's talk a little bit about some of the moves that the Blues have made since we last spoke. They trade for Mason McTavish. They have also traded for Brandon Carlo, adding some size to their defensive core. And then today, at the start of free agency, they bring in Johnston, one of the big behemoth players that was with the Anaheim Ducks from a year ago, was tied for the league lead in fighting majors in the NHL last year. What do you make of the Blues getting a little bigger, a little stronger, a little more physicality in their lineup?
Yeah, I think Steiner wants some snarl, eh? That's the other factor to this, is that we now have Alexander Steen as the general manager of the team. Not that Army's not still involved with everything with the Blues, but Johnson's he's not going to put 100 pucks in the net, but he's definitely going to be a nuclear deterrent if you need one. And he's a commanding presence. There's still something to be said for that in the league, guys. Nick Delarier's done it for a long time, and guys like that, even at $2 million, can be in and out of your lineup and still be very valuable. So I understand why that move's there for the Blues. I really like adding Carlo because think about this, when we've talked all summer, guys, the two positions that the Blues had to address were the center ice position and defense. They had to. To me, they were non-negotiable. And, our conversations about McTavish were there's potential, there's upside. You're going to have to give up assets, but you can probably get them at a reasonable rate and hope that it's there. It also gives you a chance to let Dvorsky take some minutes. And ultimately, if McTavish were to become a third-line center with Dvorsky as a second, that's not a bad thing. The alternative for the Blues, if they didn't get someone like Mason McTavish, was they were going to have to go to the well to get somebody who's probably an older free agent with a year or two left on a contract, Vincent Trocheck, who I think of all the time. And that's just kind of a Band-Aid for a team. So I like the deal for McTavish. I don't think it's a slam dunk. I think there's some hope to it. But it could really be good for him to get some new scenery, some new eyes, hopefully be able to carry that momentum. And Carlo just shores up the blue line. And if you need him on the power play, he can do that too. He's not very different than what Justin Falk brought to the St. Louis Blues.
So when you look at this roster, and I assume things are done with this one, Mike, but I mean, they love internal competition. Do you still see areas that Alexander Steen could be aggressive with to try and upgrade this team? Or do you think they're set in this position?
Well, I don't think so. No, I mean, I don't think the Blues are 100% set at center or forward positions. I think they're a little bit locked into it unless they're able to swing something bigger. But I mean, I still think there's some holes in the wings. I'm not sure. I mean, really, is Pavel Buchnevich going to perform at a first line pace this year, second line pace this year? You know, throw his contract number out the window. If the Blues could get some help on the wings, I'm not sure that they would avoid doing so. The internal competition is great. There are prospects, but you're still another 2 or 3 years away from a lot of them making a huge impact on the club. So I don't think the Blues are done. I don't have anything on that insider. I just believe that there's still either another pickup to be made or something more before camp shakes out that could help this club.
Mike, we saw Darren Dreger report this earlier today, and this might just be older news because they traded for Brandon Carlo, but Dreger mentioned that the Blues were interested in the past for Alexander Nikishin from the Hurricanes. Would you explore that, or do you think, as you mentioned, the defense should just be set where it's at?
No, I don't think you should ever be set. Nikishin was a big piece of that for the Carolina Hurricanes. If they make a move to get Connor Hellebuck and that $8.5 million deal, like it's been rumored that Carolina does, Nikishin seems to be the person who would be on the move. If you can get someone that's tried and true like that, you know, do you give up a prospect? And I don't mean like the Lindsteins. I mean, do you give up even on, you know, does Mayu move along, who you've only had for a little bit? What does it look like? Ultimately, you need the best players that you can get for that position. And if you have flexibility with assets, you take it. So, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Blues were calling on Jason Robertson, guys. Like, there's an elite winger that they were looking at. That's a $14 million contract that they were in on, guys. So I wouldn't put anything out the window, especially at D as well.
Mike McKenna is our guest here on 101 ESPN. Mike, we appreciate the time as always, man. Can you tell us a little bit? I know you're down in Tampa for this week, but what is going on with our fine folks over at Macadoodles?
Well, you know, I'm still managing the joint from afar by proxy here. So it's really cool going into July 4th here. We've got our new sale up, and, I mean, we've got great deals running on your big dogs here. I mean, Jack Daniels is on sale for a great price, handles of it for under $39, and every Smirnoff vodka, every Smirnoff canned cocktail. We've got every variety of Good Boy 8-packs, 12-packs you can imagine. All those things that you love to sip at the lake, on the boat, at the beach, you name it, really heavy on those. We did get a limited drop of Green River Full-Proof Wheated Bourbon. That's its first drop in the state of Missouri. So we just got that. We also got an America 250th barrel pick that came in from Art of the Spirits. It's an 11-year bourbon, absolutely delicious. So we're hot there. And in wine, we got great deals, too. We got Relax Riesling for under $9. Like, that's a steal. So, we're, of course, you guys know we're north of Page Extension out there in Dardenne Prairie at Bryan and Feisey Road at the northwest corner, right next to Sugar Fire.
Mike, appreciate it, man. Enjoy yourself down there in Tampa. We'll talk with you again next week.
Sounds great. I'm going back on the ice. See everybody in St. Louis.
Thanks, Mike.
Got it. That's Mike McKenna joining us as he does each and every week here on 101 ESPN. This Ross Johnston thing, man. 3 years. I can't
Did you see what Noel Acciari just signed for?
No.
2 years at $2.8 million. Would you rather have Acciari at that or Johnston at 3x2?
They're just such different players. Johnston, like, you're bringing him in here to fight. Let's be real. That's his role. He's coming in here to be physical, hit everything that moves, and fight.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's just fight. I think it's more of you're bringing him in so that your younger guys don't get pushed around. Like, there isn't on that roster so that when he's on and I do think there's some value to that other than the fighting aspect.
But that, like, the potential threat of them getting in a fight is the value.
Exactly.
But that's it. Like, you're not getting Ross Johnston for his hockey playing pedigree, right?
No, you're getting him for locker room presence, and you're getting him for the presence on the ice and on the bench.
And by the presence, we're talking about his physicality and his willingness to fight.
Yeah.
If you go onto the ice against Ross Johnston, there's a chance that he drops the gloves and you have to fight him.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying here. Like, that's not Noel Acciari. Noel Acciari, you're signing him in part because he's a pretty decent hockey player. Like, that guy helps you in certain areas. I don't know if Ross Johnston's going to impact the actual, like, him as a player. I don't know if he'll have more than 10 points next year. I'll probably bet on the under. I'm not sure that you will have more than a couple of moments where you look back and say, that guy clearly affected winning with his on-ice production that had nothing to do with the physicality. And that's okay. I'm not saying that's a problem, but that's why I'm bringing up the Noel Acciari thing. I think you sign him for a different role. If you're signing Noel Acciari, it's probably to be your fourth-line center and to help you, like, drive play.
But, I mean, you had Noel Acciari when you were trying to win, and it didn't benefit you. You were bad, and you moved on from him. So, like, I do think there's value in what Ross Johnston provides. And
I guess what do you mean? You had Noel Acciari was good. He wasn't the problem.
He was good, but he didn't on ice make your team a winning team.
I mean, I thought Noel Acciari was pretty good for them. They had huge issues that season beyond Noel Acciari.
I would say I would never look at Acciari as a guy that should be the reason you're winning hockey.
Yeah, but what you said is, well, Ross Johnston's not going to impact the on-ice product. Noel Acciari didn't impact the on-ice product as well in terms of helping you win.
Noel Acciari gave you 10 goals in 50 games as a fourth-line player. I thought Noel Acciari legitimately helped you as a team that year. Your team just wasn't good. Like, your defense was awful that season. You did not get the kind of year offensively that you were expecting.
The penalty kill was bad, too, if I remember correctly, and he was a part of that.
So, Noel Acciari, I remember we had conversations about it when he was dealt. Noel Acciari was a good player for the Blues. Their team did not come together around him. If this team needed a fourth-line center, I would have been advocating for them to sign somebody like a Noel Acciari. But they don't. They need somebody, clearly, they viewed it as we need somebody that can come in and serve as a deterrent. And that, to me, is really the only role that Ross Johnston is coming in here to play. And this is not me telling you that that's a problem. I'm cool with it. If that's what they want him to come in here and do, fine. Skate around the ice, make sure people are scared that you're on the ice. Like, that's totally fine by me. But that's what he's here to do. Noel Acciari, the reason that I brought up the on-ice production, Alex, is because you asked what would I rather have. For this role, I would rather have Ross Johnston, and it's not close. But that's not the role that Noel Acciari has for teams.
I just think for the fourth line role that you have right now, I'd rather have Ross Johnston than Noel Acciari right now. I think you've got a lot of Noel Acciaris. I don't think you've got enough Ross Johnstons.
I think we're saying the same thing in different ways. Like, I agree. Yes, Noel Acciari does not make sense for this team.
Yeah.
He doesn't make sense. But if you needed a fourth-line center, if they didn't have Jack Finley and they needed to replace Oscar Sundqvist from the outside, I'd be more than happy to have Noel Acciari. And in that scenario, if they just signed Noel Acciari and did not bring in Ross Johnston, I'd be fine with that too. I don't care either way. This is just one of those things where, like, if they view it as they need to have somebody that fights, fine. The guys in the locker room are the ones that make that determination, basically. I don't really care either way. But if they view it as being important, cool. That's fine by me. Somebody said Fox only had 15 points. Yes, and was excellent defensively. There is no reason to believe that that's going to be the case with Ross Johnston. Nothing in his career tells you, like, this is a great hockey player. But again, I don't think that's why they signed him. They signed him because the guy makes people scared to be on the ice against him. Cool. Yeah. He's Godzilla on the ice. That's fine, man. There's nothing wrong with that.
I believe there's value with that still, and I'll be curious to see how they use him because, I mean, again, it's if Joel Quenneville's using him for 63 games and 9.5 to 10 minutes a night, there's value in terms of him just – the guys that just skate around to look for hits typically don't play more than 5 or 6 minutes. So, I mean, if you're playing him for 10 minutes, there's value in terms of what he can provide. I just think there is value in having that type of presence depending on who, is in your lineup / what you've got out there on the ice in terms of those younger guys.
I'm good with it. I hope he's awesome next year. I hope he scores 20 goals for the Blues.
Well, that's not going to happen. So, I wouldn't expect that one.
I've got no. I don't take this as me saying I don't think it's a good signing.
I did. I think you brought it up because you don't like these guys.
I'm surprised by the 3 years.
Yeah, I think that's just the going rate.
Is there value in what he's doing? Sure. Is it 3 years worth of value? At a guaranteed $6 million? That I don't know about.
I just think if you wanted him for 1 or 2, you're talking about $4 million. And that...
What?
Yeah. I mean, like, Noel Acciari got 2 by 2.8, and I think if you want somebody more than 2 years, you got to go you got to go more years lower AAV. If you go shorter years and just say we want you for 1 year,
for a guy that's career high in points is 14, he's never had more than 8 in any other season.
Dude,
welcome to the new.
Yeah, cap. Welcome to the new cap.
That guy's not getting $5 million.
I never said 5. I said if you go 2 years, you're probably paying him $3 million a year. Would you be more upset if they paid this guy $3 million a year versus $2 million a year?
I think I would rather have the 2 years.
Well,
Yeah, I would have done the higher AAV in shorter terms.
Yeah, I probably would have too, but they must value having him around a little bit longer. But yeah, I think this is the AAV more than anything.
The term is what surprised me.
Yeah.
The 3 years for a fighter surprises me because typically you can get these guys on 1 year deals. I think it's very clear based upon this that what you're saying about his value for the team, Alexander Steen clearly agrees with you. He thinks that what I'm saying is probably pretty stupid. That I'm underestimating how much value this kind of a guy has for the roster, and more power to him. We'll find out this year if they're right.
Yeah.
But if they're wrong, having this guy on the roster for 3 years is going to block somebody, or they're going to have to eat it. They're going to have to eat the other $4 million that are a part of that. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. More likely to happen next. Hey, it's BK for my friends at Victory Men's Health. It's time for you to unlock your inner champion, and you can do so with my friends at Victory Men's Health today. Go to their website, victorymenshealth.com. When you get there in the upper right-hand corner, you click on the tab that says Get Started, put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion today. That is just the very beginning of the process. You'll go in for that first appointment. You'll get a consultation with a licensed medical provider. They'll do some blood work for you, find out where all of your different levels are at, and then you'll be able to go back to put together that personalized plan for you. That looks different for everybody. For some, that means using their supplement shop. For others, maybe it's testosterone optimization or weight loss goals or sexual health, red light therapy, micronutrient testing. There's all kinds of ways that they can unlock your inner champion at Victory Men's Health. Get started today at their website, victorymenshealth.com. They have 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. It'll be convenient for you. They'll unlock your inner champion at Victory Men's Health and online at victorymenshealth.com. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Alex Steen expected to talk to the media today at 2:45 out at Centene. So we'll hear what he has to say about the moves today, officially announcing the signing of Jonathan Berggren, also the buyout of Druin, and finally the addition.
Yeah,
and
BK hates it.
3-year deal.
BK hates it.
For Ross Johnston. Just to clarify my view on this.
BK thinks this is a joke that you're just going to get a guy who does nothing other than skate around and fight.
I don't think that's a problem. I'm surprised by the 3-year term. It's not a huge deal because $2 million in the new cap is whatever. It's throwaway money, right?
The entry-level contract.
It's not a huge deal. I was very surprised by the term. When we saw the contract, Alex, that he had signed, I thought it was going to be a 1-year, $1 million deal.
That's what I thought. I
Basically,
thought it would be
league
two-way.
minimum, where I thought there was a chance that he didn't make this roster on opening night.
Uh-huh.
And now we see it as a 3-year, $2 million per year guarantee. That guy's going to make your roster this year and very likely going to be on the team for the next 2+ years. So that's why I was surprised by it. Do I have a problem with it? No. They viewed this as being something that they wanted. They brought in Lucic last year. They clearly wanted it then. It didn't work. And so now you bring in somebody that's got a little muscle that can be a deterrent for the team. I'm cool with it. No problem. I'm surprised by the term. That's it. But they placed a value on it. They've shown you with their actions just how much they value this kind of a role. God bless. I hope it works for them. Last time they did this, it was with Kyle Clifford. It was a disaster, an absolute abject failure. Hopefully this time around it works a lot better than it did that
Hey,
time.
man, you don't have to convince me, all right? I like it.
Here's a question to BK because I realized what I did there. What was
This
more
was supposed
surprising?
to be more likely to happen?
Yeah, that it was a 3-year deal, or this was
okay.
supposed to be more likely to happen.
I heard the
we
bed
were
come
talking in the
normally.
break, and I wasn't paying attention.
That's
And I was
okay.
like, he's not expecting clap hip hop here, is he?
Probably great moves.
There's a lot of news coming by over the last 24 hours. These couple of days are really unique in the way that they're structured because there is very little structure. We are typically a very structured show. That is not the case when NHL free agency is flying the way that it has been, when the NBA has free agency going on today as well. Some Cardinal stuff going on over the last 24 hours. The World Cup updates flying regularly. By the way, England did officially win that game. 2027 wide receiver Trey Britton has committed to Mizzou. So there's a lot going on.
There's some big names big names in the sense of what this free agent market is, but like John Carlson hasn't signed, Boone Jenner hasn't signed, Mario Ferraro hasn't signed, Anthony Mantha hasn't signed. Like, there's still some names out there that you're probably going to see over the next couple of hours that start to kind of dwindle down and start to sign. And then once players get signed, then I think you get the trade talks that pick back up because teams missed out on what they needed, and so now they go to the market and see what they can trade for.
And as natural sports radio people, we were trying to decide, does Steen's presser at 2:45 mean there's another move up the sleeve, or does it mean the Blues are done for the day?
We never speculate.
My read,
here on
my
BK
guess, they're done for the day.
I think
today.
they're done, or something's coming across the finish line here in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, my guess is they're done today, and that you hold this media availability because the prospects of the development camp is taking place to where they're not on the ice. Doug talked about that yesterday, that they really value these guys not competing against each other. My guess is those players are talking at 3, so they figured, well, people are going to be at Centene. Steen can talk about the buyout, the Berggren extension, and talk about the Johnston signing. So I think they're done, but crazier things have happened.
Yeah, if they added something, what do you think it would be, Alex, at this point? You think defense or forward is more likely?
My guess is if you're adding something free agency-wise, it's forward. If you're adding defense, then maybe it's going to be a trade.
Okay.
I just don't think there's any more free agent signings. Now I think is when you get to the two-way deals to where you potentially can fight for a roster spot. I don't think you're making any big signings like Mike mentioned of 5x5s or whatnot.
Teddy Bluger, a deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So another center going to Toronto.
I don't know what Toronto's doing these days. They're trying to compete, I guess.
I mean, yeah, clearly.
I just, man,
I think they feel the need to do that.
You've traded away Carlo. They're trying to actively trade away Morgan Riley. You've added some 3rd and 4th line players, but you just signed a goaltender who's looking to win a cup in the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating season for a lot of different teams across the NHL. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Coming up next, is this the ideal trade deadline for the St. Louis Cardinals? Plus, what can we read from John Mozeliak's most recent comments in Anaheim? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends over at Classic Air Care, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electricity, who is here to help you with your every single need when it comes to your home. And look, it's all about quality with Classic Air Care, a company that I've been using since 2016. They've got over 9,000 five-star reviews. They've won the STL Headliners Best Heating and Cooling Company for 3 straight years, and you get customer service that actually cares. And this is the part that I love about them. So what they have is something called a second opinion, to where if you've got a diagnosis on an HVAC system that you're questioning, like, man, I don't know about that, I don't feel comfortable with it, you can get a free second opinion from Classic Air Care. So their experienced technicians are going to inspect your system. They're going to review the company's diagnosis and explain your options clearly to you. All you got to do is call Classic Air Care to get your free second opinion. You can schedule online also. Check out some of the cool things that they have, to where you can get an instant HVAC system quote on their website. Just do me a favor. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here. The Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. NHL free agency opened up today, and the St. Louis Blues announced a 3-year deal with Ross Johnston with an AAV of $2 million. If the Blues make any more moves throughout the day today, we'll keep you updated here on 101 ESPN. And Cardinals will be back in action tonight. Game 2 of their 3-game set at the Atlanta Braves. 6:15 will be first pitch. Michael McGreevy gets the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, and Daikin Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Breaking news from Major League Baseball. The MLBPA has made a new proposal to Major League Baseball on player benefits and some things they would like to see in the next CBA. I think at least T-Bone, I haven't heard Alex's opinions on this, but I think we're in agreement. Most of these seem extremely reasonable and probably good for the game long term. So let's go through a few of these. We can just give our quick thoughts on them as I go through each one individually. The first one, expanding Major League Baseball active rosters from 26, which is the current roster restriction, to 28 players with a 14-pitcher maximum for the first 15 days of the season. This would be designed to help with player health. We've heard this from the Cardinals. They have said repeatedly over the last few years, hey, March and April, that's when the most injuries happen, especially for pitchers. You've got to be careful. If you can get through the month of April, you're much more likely to be healthy with your pitching staff. So this would increase at least one more pitcher per team, 28 players overall.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because they're already, it's 13 when it's 26 because it's half the roster. So, yeah, I mean, I like this one, and it makes sense. If you're trying to keep guys healthy and make sure that they're good to go through the season, Cardinals have mastered this so far in the last couple of years, so I have no issues with this one.
Yeah, I like this one. I think especially because what BK said, injuries happen a lot in the first month. I think it makes sense. I'm a little surprised they would put the maximum at 14. I thought maybe they would just go kind of what they did in, was it 22, the lockout year, where they said, hey, man, the first month, let's just go ahead and give you 15 pitchers so there are no injuries.
I like this, too, because it creates more jobs for other guys,
and
too.
I like that it's not the whole season, because I think the whole season, then it really kind of would water down, especially what starters would be willing to do and go deep in games. But I like this proposal here.
Yeah, it gets a few extra guys some service time as well, gets opportunities. Like this year, you probably would have seen, I don't know, Nelson Velasquez would have been probably the extra position player that made it on the roster on opening day. And then
you would have got Roycroft or Fernandez.
Probably, and you probably find out immediately, hey, this ain't working for Roycroft.
I didn't need it before.
Or maybe
agreement,
Richard Fitz maybe starts at the season, because wasn't he extra length? Because we were arguing about him at the beginning of the season. Yeah. You would have got 10 days of seeing what he looks like. That's 2 starts maybe.
Yeah, bulk inning guy, or go 6-man rotation to start the year, either one.
All right, the next one we have a bit of a disagreement on, but I think we all agree it's a good thing. Allow for placement of players on the 60-day IL as early as November for the tender deadline. This would be designed to open additional 40-man roster spots for clubs to utilize in their offseason, particularly to replace players with known lengthy injury recovery timelines. For the Cardinals right now, some guys that this could potentially apply to include Richard Fitz, Cooper Jerpy in the past, TK Roby. They could have had those guys on the 60-day IL earlier in the offseason. Now, for them, they had so much roster turnover last year that it wouldn't have really changed a whole lot. But, like, for this upcoming offseason, for example, they're pretty clogged when it comes to their roster. Most of these guys remain under contract for next year, so if they are planning to make additions, they could add extra players to the roster and then go into camp and have some real competition here, and then whittle things down as they get closer to the regular season. In season, who knows how it all goes with the 60-day T-Bone. That's what we were talking about off air.
That's where I don't think we had a disagreement, because I like this rule proposal. I think this is smart, especially for teams, because what this is more those major league guys, because I don't think there's a ton of 40-man rosters that have kind of the Cardinals situation. Yeah. But this would be like, for example, if Dustin May, and hopefully this doesn't happen, but if he blew out his arm, for example, and says, oh, I'm picking up my end of the option, yeah, you can bet that, they could put him on the 60-day IL.
Here's a different example. Justin Brule, if he was on a 5-year contract right now, the Cardinals could keep him on the 60-day IL.
Both of those are awful scenarios.
And they would just be able to keep him around.
Yeah.
Okay. I like T-Bone's scenario much more.
But what's most important, he doesn't count on the 40-man in the offseason, because that's the thing that these teams run into issues with.
In what world do I want to keep Justin Brule around if he's injured on a 5-year deal? I'd just disown that in, please.
Where it gets tough in the Cardinals situation, this is what we were talking about during the commercial break, is, in theory, yes, the Cardinals can put like Jerpy and Roby, who did have significant injuries and were going to miss the beginning of the year. I mean, they're on their rehab starts now. You could put them on the 40-man, but where there has to be some clarity in this proposal, or if the Players Association really wants to get into this, they have to try and change this. That's fine in the offseason. And yes, the Cardinals could fill those spots. So they could get to the 40-man roster with those two guys not counting against it. But then the moment the season starts, the Cardinals, for example, would want to put those guys back on the 15-day IL, because if they're on the 60-day, this is the conversation we had, I think, last year with somebody, they accrue service time and they get major league pay, right?
Correct.
So they get the major league minimum. So I don't know that the Cardinals organization would want to do that in the case of these prospects.
Potentially Burns an option year, I believe, too. I don't know how all of this ends up
if they get activated and you send them down, it would, I believe,
My head hurts hearing you guys argue this.
There's a lot that goes into this. The 60-day IL, the 40-man, it can get a little convoluted with some of this stuff. But
it sounds great.
Add in the extra option in the offseason of using it. I think that could be a potentially good thing for a lot of teams.
Let's talk what matters. Is there a salary cap or is there not?
That stuff's not included.
Smart by the players.
Reduce the number of permissible in-season options from 5, which is the current number, so you can go up and down 5 different times, to 3. And this would be, according to the players, designed to combat roster churn and promote full-time jobs at the major league level throughout the year. I'm fine with it. I don't think teams will love that. GMs will push back against it, I would assume, because that means less roster flexibility for them. And I would also add this. I do wonder if that would change the value of some of these like fringe roster players. Like, this is helping, I don't know, guys like Ryan Fernandez, Gordon Graceffo potentially. But it potentially hurts guys that are getting that first opportunity at the major league level, like a Dobbins or eventually a Richard Fitz, Bryson Motts, who can potentially go up and down quite a bit. So I don't know if ultimately this would be a good or a bad thing for players, but I'm fine with it as a neutral spectator.
I just kind of like it because it'll help teams make decisions faster on this, to where it's like you don't have to go the back and forth of, well, we'll use him sparingly like a Hunter Dobbins. It makes the decision faster of this guy's either here or he's not here.
You get less of him, though.
Well, because you made the decision,
you get 3 starts.
I think this puts incentive on starting pitching, because I think what it does is like you're saying, you can go less to a 6-man rotation because of this, and you can't just say, all right, well, we're going to starter, not having it 3 innings tonight. Okay, boom, let's go ahead to our bullpen, then we can send 3 of these guys down and call up 3, and guess what? We can do that 4 more times this year. How often have we seen someone go down 5 times? I'm not even sure it's happened.
The Cardinals got close, I think, last year on somebody.
They got close, but they didn't get to it. It's just too high of a number. So I think you try and put this at 3, which is what I've always been in favor of, because then I think it kind of forces more incentive towards starters as well, of they've got to pitch a little bit more, skipping the 6th day. And also, it incentivizes you, hey, man, we can't have these guys blowing up in our rotation like a Matthew Liberatore a lot, because we have less options to use on guys.
Yeah, I think it makes those decisions faster.
And the one other thing, this is something that doesn't really affect fans, but will affect players, and I don't think that there's any way that the organizations agree to this. Enable all players to have access to club-controlled, non-proprietary performance data and video, designed to increase transparency and allow players to track their work with the same information that management is using. Teams are very cloak and dagger about that information. I would doubt that they end up getting that, but that's something that doesn't really affect fans in any significant way. So the other things are more in line with what fans care about. I think all of these are fine. They're reasonable. I'm cool with it.
What do you think of the accelerated eligibility for the Rule 5 draft? That one I don't see happening from the...
That one I didn't read because I don't think there's any chance it happens.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of with you. I don't think it happens, but it's interesting they're going for it. They should. They should try for it. Why not? We're giving our silliest offers right now.
Tell us about the salary cap.
Yeah. That's not part of this proposal.
Well, they need to put it in there. That's all we care about.
Major League Baseball has had like 5 different pieces of their proposals, and some of them they've done the cap thing, and others it's been other stuff. This is for younger players, basically. This is looking at how do we get rid of some of the roster churn that's currently taking place in Major League Baseball? What's the best way to go about that so guys are more likely to be with the same team for the full season? Alex has been lost. He's yawning now. We'll get to the rewind coming up next here on 101 ESPN. The Fast Lane is expected to be coming up here in less than 10 minutes. They're doing so from Ballpark Village, where they are there for the U.S. men's national team. They are about to play their match tonight, round of 32. They're doing so on behalf of Michelob Ultra. Anthony, Carey, Jamie, Marshy, and Mick Ultra on site with the 101 ESPN and Ultra giveaway starting at 2 o'clock, leading off to the kickoff of U.S. men's national team versus Bosnia. Michelob Ultra is a superior light beer and the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26, so be sure to enjoy an Ultra as you cheer on your favorite team tonight. That's tonight. Fastlane starting at 2 o'clock at Ballpark Village with Michelob Ultra, leading into the knockout round match coming up at 7. U.S. men's national team at 7. T-Bone, as our resident soccer guy, how you feeling going into this one?
I think they can win tonight. Now, we've seen a couple of teams really sitting on upset watch, so I think they've got to come out to that fast start, right? You don't want to let them hang around and feel like they're into the game, but I think Pulisic gets a goal tonight. U.S. wins 2-0, I'll say.
2-0.
Good call.
Sorry, I've been with BK a lot.
I know,
he's
tell me about it.
my
Belgium is playing against Senegal coming up here in just about an hour. Winner of that game would potentially play the U.S. men's national team. What should we be rooting for in this? Do we want Senegal to win?
Yeah, you want Senegal. Because I don't think the U.S. can beat Belgium.
Okay. I do. I
you
believe
think they're
will.
winning it all?
Yeah, you do think they're winning it all.
I believe they're winning against
He saw the first
Belgium.
play-in match, and he goes, USA's winning the whole thing.
Dude, to be fair,
Paraguay
that
beat
was against
Germany.
Paraguay, who just beat Germany. And they kicked their ass.
Yeah, but winning the whole thing's a little wild.
Well, we'll see. Matchups are
I don't know, man.
turning in my favor a bit.
I watched France
the other night, 2 top 12 teams in the world rankings are already home. It's the Dutch and Germany are both home.
but I watched
give it
France and
Oh, yeah, they're
really good, but other side of the bracket.
Yeah.
So-
Somebody else
you get
beats
there.
them.
You get there. That's all that matters.
All right. Cardinals against the Braves tonight. McGreevy on the mound. I will be very curious to see T-Bone. You mentioned this earlier today. Do they go back to Ivan Herrera as the catcher back-to-back days? He's been McGreevy's personal catcher all season long. Those guys have been paired together. McGreevy's having a very good season. It would make sense to do so. However, he's also Palante's catcher. Palante is expected to start on Friday at Chicago against the Cubs. And in that game, the Cubs have currently announced a left-handed starter. So you would probably want to push as many of your righties into the lineup as possible. Tonight, you've got a right-handed pitcher on the mound for the Atlanta Braves, so it would make sense if they go to Jimmy Crooks here. I'll be curious to see what happens there. That, to me, is one of the most intriguing storylines going into it. Other than that, what do you guys find most interesting about this matchup tonight?
All right, I just kind of want to see if they can find a way to win this series, because what they've done this season is when I thought they were done and things are about to fall apart. I told you guys in the office, I was watching that game last night because I believed they were going to lose it. And it's a weird feeling because mostly I turned that game off or I put it to the side because it feels like they'll close it out. So I'll be curious to see if they can rebound in this series like they've done a lot this year.
Mine's the big dogs. Outside the catching thing of what they're going to do tonight, look, they won last night, and it was because they started to slug, but it wasn't from your typical guys. It was Velasquez and it was Nathan Church. So I'm waiting to see, okay, well, when is Herrera? When is Walker? When is Burleson? I think Weatherholt's starting to get there. His at-bats are looking better of late. But when are those big four going to really turn it back on and really start to do damage to the baseball? That's when the Cardinals were playing their best.
It's also possible that the series against Miami was more about the Marlins than it was about the Cardinals. They are 20-6 in their last 26 games. They have outscored their opponents 129-78 this month. Oof. The Marlins' third highest paid player on their roster is Giancarlo Stanton. Let me say that one more time. Giancarlo Stanton is the third highest paid player on the Miami Marlins this season.
I didn't even know they were still paying him.
Same Arenado's like our highest paid player, and he's not here.
I think the third highest player, all top three are not on this roster.
So we'll see what the Cardinals are able to do tonight. I do think they find a way to get this one, pull out the first 2 games in this series. Fingers crossed they're able to win 3 in a row against the Atlanta Braves. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you can go to find it. We did have a conversation with Brandon Carlo, the newest Blues defenseman, earlier today. Alex, it is all sponsored by
Shea Fedora Company.
Before we get out of here, U.S. men's national team at 7, Cards Braves tonight as well. Alex Steen is talking coming up at 2:45. Do you believe by the time that we get back on the air tomorrow, Alex, we will see another Blues transaction?
No, I think we're done. Unless McMichael signs a contract extension, I think the Blues will be done between now and tomorrow.
T-Bone?
I think they're done. I don't think there's any external additions coming.
I'm in agreement. Do you think that they will get a deal signed with McMichael?
Yeah. Not between now and tomorrow. I'd say probably not. I think it might take a little bit longer, but I think they'll have one done before the end of the weekend.
A little bit of news to pass along. The Capitals have signed Justin Hall, who had a brief stretch there with the St. Louis Blues. 1-year deal worth $900,000. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Ballpark Village is where the Fast Lane's broadcasting from. They'll do that next here on 101 ESPN.